Have you ever felt like life hits you with truths you'd rather not face? Those little revelations you avoid because confronting them would mean admitting you need to change. But let me ask you this. How often do you choose the comfort of ignorance over the discomfort of truth? Today, I'm bringing you 60 painful truths nobody wants to admit, inspired by Stoic wisdom and life's harshest lessons. Brace yourself. This isn't just about recognizing these truths, but learning how to embrace them and grow stronger. But before we dive into the list, let me share a story to help set the tone. There was once a man named James who lived in the heart of the city. From the outside, James had it all: a steady job, a beautiful apartment, and a social life that seemed enviable. But beneath the surface, James was plagued by an unease he couldn't shake. Every morning, he stared into the mirror, questioning why he felt so empty despite everything he'd achieved. One day, while walking through the park, James met an older man sitting on a bench. The man had a calm, almost serene presence. Intrigued, James sat down and struck up a conversation. He confessed his struggles, saying, "I feel like I'm just going through the motions, but I don't know what's missing." The older man smiled knowingly and said, "You're carrying truths you refuse to confront. They're weighing you down like stones in your pockets." He handed James a small notebook and added, "Write down every hard truth you've been avoiding. It won't be easy, but clarity will set you free." James spent weeks filling that notebook with painful admissions. He was stuck in a career he didn't love. He feared failure more than he valued growth, and he depended too much on others' opinions for validation. It wasn't easy, but each truth he acknowledged felt like a weight lifted. Slowly, James began to make changes, small steps at first, but bold ones over time. The older man's words echoed in his mind. The truths we avoid are the ones that shape us the most. By facing these truths head-on, James not only transformed his life, but found a peace he'd never known before, and you can too. These 60 truths may sting, but they hold the power to set you free. Let's begin. 1. Everyone who knows you will eventually be dead, and their opinions will cease to matter in a few generations. This is a truth that cuts through the very fabric of our need for validation. The opinions of others, those fleeting judgments and passing remarks, hold so much power over us. Why? Because we let them. We alter our choices, hide our true selves, and even compromise our happiness to avoid the sting of disapproval. But here's the uncomfortable reality. Everyone who knows you, who judges you, who whispers behind your back, will one day be gone. Their opinions will dissolve into the same silence we all eventually face. Think about it. In 50 years, will it matter if someone thought you were foolish for starting that business or chasing that dream? In 100 years, will anyone even remember the gossip that made you lose sleep? The people whose opinions you hold in such high regard today will fade, just as the people they sought to impress have already faded. Yet, here you are, giving them control over your life. This isn't just a Stoic observation, it's a liberating call to action. Marcus Aurelius himself reflected on this truth, writing, "Consider how much more pain is caused by the anger and grief of the mind when we are hurt by such things than is caused by the actual things themselves." In other words, it's not the judgment of others that hurts us, but our attachment to that judgment. Let this truth free you. Instead of living for the approval of others, start living for yourself. Ask yourself, If I knew their opinions would be erased tomorrow, what would I do differently today? Would you take that risk? Speak up for what you believe in. Walk away from toxic relationships. The time to act is now. A man once shared a story about his grandfather, a stoic and unbothered man who lived unapologetically. On his deathbed, the grandfather smiled and said, "I wasted no time on the opinions of others. That's why I'm at peace." His grandson reflected on this for years, realizing how often he had let others' fleeting opinions dictate his life. It's never too late to change, but the sooner you embrace this truth, the more freedom you'll feel. So, stop giving your energy to what others think of you. Their opinions will fade, but the impact of your decisions, the ones you make for yourself, will shape your life. Remember, you're not here to please everyone. You're here to live fully. 2. Your achievements will be forgotten over time. This is a hard pill to swallow, especially if you pride yourself on your accomplishments. We live in a world obsessed with success, accolades, and recognition. We chase promotions, awards, and milestones, believing they'll immortalize us. But here's the painful truth: they won't. No matter how monumental your achievements feel today, they will eventually be forgotten. Think about the great figures of history. How many can you name beyond a handful? Even the most legendary accomplishments, empires built, revolutions sparked, masterpieces painted, are reduced to paragraphs in textbooks or exhibits in museums. And for the majority of us, our achievements won't even make it that far. In a few generations, your trophies will gather dust, your titles will be meaningless, and the applause you once craved will be a faint echo. But don't mistake this truth for nihilism. Instead, let it be a source of clarity. If your achievements won't stand the test of time, then what truly matters? The Stoics teach us to focus on what we can control and what brings lasting fulfillment. Instead of chasing accolades, cultivate virtues, integrity, kindness, resilience. These aren't achievements to display. They're qualities that shape your character and enrich the lives of those around you. Consider the story of a man named David. He spent decades climbing the corporate ladder, sacrificing time with his family to secure promotions. He told himself it was all for a legacy. Yet, at his retirement party, as colleagues gave half-hearted speeches, David realized something sobering. None of it mattered as much as he thought it would. The plaques and titles he worked so hard for wouldn't comfort him in old age. What stayed with him were the memories of people he loved and the lessons he passed down to his children. Your achievements are a reflection of effort and dedication, but they're not the sum of your life. Instead of striving for recognition, focus on living a life of meaning. Ask yourself, will this achievement matter in 10 years? 20? If not, what will? In the end, your achievements will fade, but the way you lived, how you treated others, the moments of joy you created, the principles you stood for, will leave a lasting impact, even if it's not recorded in history. Don't just chase success, pursue significance. 3. Living a life based on others' expectations leads to unfulfillment. From the moment we're born, expectations begin to shape us. Society, family, friends, they all craft a mold they expect us to fit into. Be polite, get good grades, choose a safe career, settle down. These expectations are often given to us under the guise of love and guidance, but when followed blindly, they can suffocate our individuality and steal our sense of purpose. Living a life based on others' expectations might earn you approval, but it rarely leads to fulfillment. Why? Because deep down, you know you're not living for yourself. The job you stay in because it pleases your parents, the relationships you tolerate because they seem right to others, the risks you avoid because they might invite criticism. All of these things create a life that looks fine on the outside but feels hollow within. This truth is echoed in the teachings of Stoic philosophy. Epictetus wrote, "Whoever is going to listen to the cries of others and obey them will never be free. True freedom comes when you stop living for others and start living for yourself." That doesn't mean you should disregard the feelings of those you care about, but rather you must prioritize living authentically. Take the story of Anna, a woman who spent 15 years in a stable but unfulfilling career because her parents had always dreamed of her becoming a doctor. She excelled at her job, but dreaded each day, feeling trapped by their expectations. Finally, at 40, she quit her job and pursued her passion for art. It was a bold decision met with resistance, but for the first time, Anna felt alive. She realized she could never make her parents' dreams her own, and by choosing her path, she found a sense of peace and fulfillment she had never experienced before. Living for others often feels safe, but it's a dangerous illusion. It may shield you from short-term conflict, but it leads to long-term regret. Ask yourself, if I didn't fear disappointing anyone, what would I do differently? The answer to that question holds the key to your authentic life. Remember, the people who expect things from you are living their own lives. They are not the ones who will wake up each morning in your shoes, facing the consequences of your choices. You are. So take control. Define your own path. Yes, it may upset a few people, but living authentically will bring you the fulfillment you're longing for. 4. Fear of judgment. Controls most people, holding them back from pursuing success. If there's one thing that paralyzes more dreams than failure, it's the fear of judgment. How often do you find yourself hesitating because you're worried about what others might think? You don't start that project because someone might call it a waste of time. You don't voice your opinion because you fear being wrong. You don't take a leap of faith because the possibility of failing in front of others is too much to bear. The truth is, the fear of judgment is one of the most powerful forces holding people back. Why? Because it feeds on insecurity and magnifies the smallest criticisms into towering obstacles. We've all been there, second-guessing our choices because of a stray comment or an imagined sneer. But here's the reality. Most people are too busy worrying about their own lives to judge yours as harshly as you think they do. And those who do, their judgment says more about their insecurities than your worth. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinions than our own." It's a tragic paradox. We let the fleeting opinions of others dictate our paths, even though those opinions often lack depth or understanding of our true potential. Take the example of a man named Jordan. For years, he dreamed of starting a fitness business, but every time he got close, he heard a voice in his head asking, "What will people think if I fail?" He stayed in a safe but unremarkable job, hiding his aspirations. One day, a mentor told him, "The people you're worried about will forget your failures in weeks, but you'll carry the regret forever." That conversation changed everything. Jordan launched his business, and though he stumbled at first, he ultimately succeeded, because he stopped letting fear control him. The fear of judgment is like a cage you build for yourself. The bars aren't real, but they feel solid enough to trap you. The key to breaking free is to recognize that judgment is inevitable, but it's also irrelevant. You will never please everyone, nor should you try. Success in any form requires taking risks, and risks invite opinions. Some will cheer for you, others will criticize you. Neither should define you. So the next time fear whispers in your ear, ask yourself, am I willing to trade my dreams for the comfort of staying unjudged? The answer should always be no. Step into the arena, pursue your goals, and let the world think what it wants. At the end of the day, their opinions are just noise. What matters is that you lived bravely and authentically. 5. Choosing mediocrity to avoid risks is more painful than failure. Many people believe that playing it safe, choosing comfort and avoiding risk, will lead to a more secure and satisfying life. But the harsh reality is this: mediocrity is often far more painful than failure. Why? Because failure, for all its discomfort, offers growth, lessons, and the possibility of success, while mediocrity traps you in a cycle of regret and what-ifs. Imagine living your life in a gray zone. You settle for a job that's good enough, a relationship that's not too bad, and a routine that's comfortable. It feels safe, but deep down, there's a persistent ache, a nagging sense that you're capable of more. That ache grows louder with time, transforming into the regret of a life half-lived. Stoicism teaches us that discomfort and adversity are necessary for growth. Seneca said, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult." Taking risks is what sharpens us, challenges us, and ultimately leads us to a life of purpose. On the contrary, avoiding risks out of fear only postpones inevitable dissatisfaction. Consider a man named Daniel, who dreamed of starting his own business, but stayed in his corporate job because it was safe. He told himself he'd quit after saving enough money, but years passed, and he remained stuck in the same place. When his company downsized, he was laid off, but instead of regret over his job loss, he felt deeper regret for never pursuing his dream. He realized that playing it safe had only delayed his fears and robbed him of precious years. The truth is, failure is not the enemy. Stagnation is. Every failure is a step forward, a chance to learn and grow. Mediocrity, on the other hand, offers no progress and no fulfillment. It might spare you from temporary discomfort, but it guarantees long-term pain. Ask yourself this: would I rather try and fail, or never try at all and wonder what could have been? The answer is clear. Life rewards the bold. Yes, risk is scary, but it's also where dreams are made. Mediocrity might seem like a safe bet, but it's actually the most dangerous gamble of all, because it guarantees a life of unfulfilled potential. 6. Overthinking decisions wastes time and creates unnecessary anxiety. Every decision, big or small, holds the potential to paralyze us. Should I take this job? Should I move to a new city? Should I say yes to this opportunity? Overthinking these choices doesn't make them easier. It makes them harder. The more you dwell on a decision, the more you inflate its weight, and before you know it, you've spent hours, or even years, agonizing over something that could have been resolved with action. Overthinking is a thief. It steals your time, drains your energy, and fills your mind with unnecessary anxiety. Instead of moving forward, you stay stuck in a loop of what-ifs. What if I make the wrong choice? What if it doesn't work out? What if I regret it? Ironically, this endless rumination often leads to inaction, which is a decision in itself, and usually the wrong one. Marcus Aurelius reminds us in Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Overthinking gives power to uncertainty, when in reality the best way to overcome doubt is through decisive action. Most decisions are not irreversible, and even the wrong choice can be corrected. The true danger lies in failing to act at all. Let's look at Sarah, who spent months debating whether to apply for a promotion at work. She listed pros and cons, sought advice from everyone she knew, and played out countless scenarios in her head. By the time she finally decided to go for it, the position had already been filled. Sarah learned the hard way that overthinking cost her more than just time. It cost her an opportunity. The antidote to overthinking is trust. Trust in yourself and your ability to adapt. Make the best decision you can with the information you have, and then commit to it. If it turns out to be the wrong choice, you'll learn, adjust, and move on. It's far better to act and make mistakes than to sit on the sidelines consumed by indecision. Remember, no amount of analysis can guarantee a perfect outcome. Life is inherently uncertain, and that's okay. What matters is that you take control and move forward. Every moment you spend overthinking is a moment lost, one that could have been spent pursuing your goals and dreams. So, let go of the fear of making mistakes and embrace the power of decisive action. 7. Avoiding tough decisions leads to long-term dissatisfaction. Life is full of crossroads, and at each one you're faced with a choice: to confront a difficult decision or to avoid it. While avoidance feels easier in the moment, it comes with a hidden cost: long-term dissatisfaction. The tough decisions you dodge today will haunt you tomorrow, not because they disappear, but because their consequences grow heavier with time. Think about the tough decisions you've been putting off. Maybe it's ending a toxic relationship, leaving a soul-draining job, or admitting to yourself that your current path isn't leading where you want to go. These are not decisions anyone wants to make, but avoiding them doesn't eliminate the problem. It only prolongs the pain. Every day you delay is another day spent living in a situation that doesn't serve you. Stoicism teaches us the value of confronting reality, no matter how uncomfortable. Epictetus said, "Circumstances don't make the man, they only reveal him to himself." Avoiding hard choices may feel like self-preservation, but in reality, it's self-betrayal. When you avoid making a decision, you're choosing to stay stuck. You're choosing a version of yourself that tolerates dissatisfaction rather than seeking fulfillment. Take Anna, for example. She stayed in a stagnant job for years because she feared the uncertainty of starting a new career. The longer she stayed, the more frustrated she became. She blamed her co-workers, her boss, and the company. But deep down, she knew the real issue: her refusal to make a tough decision. When she finally quit and pursued her passion, she realized that the fear of the unknown had been far more painful than the reality of change. Tough decisions are uncomfortable because they force you to confront the truth about yourself and your life. But discomfort is the price of growth. When you face these decisions head-on, you gain clarity, self-respect, and the chance to build a life aligned with your values. Avoiding them, on the other hand, guarantees regret. Ask yourself, what tough decision am I avoiding right now? How would my life improve if I made it today? The answer might scare you, but it will also set you free. Remember, the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to act. So, rip off the Band-Aid. Make the call, have the conversation, or take the leap. Your future self will thank you. 8. Comfort prevents progress by keeping people in suboptimal situations. Comfort is seductive. It whispers to you, "Stay here. You're safe. You don't need to change." But what comfort doesn't tell you is that it's also a trap, a gilded cage that keeps you in suboptimal situations, robbing you of growth, progress, and fulfillment. We all crave comfort, whether it's the safety of a stable job, the familiarity of a routine, or the ease of avoiding challenges. But too much comfort leads to stagnation. The truth is, progress demands discomfort. Growth only happens when you stretch beyond your current limits, and that requires stepping out of your comfort zone. Marcus Aurelius put it plainly: "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Obstacles and challenges are not barriers to your progress. They are the path to it. Comfort, on the other hand, is the greatest obstacle of all because it's invisible. It lulls you into complacency, making you forget that you're capable of so much more. Take Jason, who stayed in a relationship that didn't fulfill him simply because it was comfortable. He told himself that things weren't bad enough to leave, but they also weren't good enough to feel truly happy. Years later, he looked back with regret, realizing he had wasted valuable time because he was too afraid to embrace discomfort and seek something better. Comfort keeps you in situations that are good enough, but good enough is the enemy of greatness. The job you hate but tolerate, the friendships that drain you but feel familiar, the dreams you put on hold because pursuing them seems too risky. These are all traps disguised as comfort. Every day you stay in these situations is a day you lose to mediocrity. Breaking free from the comfort trap requires courage. It means embracing uncertainty, facing challenges, and taking risks. But the rewards are worth it. Growth, fulfillment, and the knowledge that you're living up to your potential. Comfort may feel safe, but it's a false safety. The real danger lies in staying where you are. So ask yourself, where in my life am I choosing comfort over progress? What small step can I take today to push past that comfort zone? The answer may scare you, but remember, discomfort is temporary. Regret is permanent. Growth begins at the edge of your comfort zone, so take the first step and don't look back. 9. Painful experiences often lead to significant growth. Nobody wants pain, but pain is an inevitable part of life. What many fail to realize is that pain, as uncomfortable and even devastating as it feels, is often the precursor to immense personal growth. Think back to the hardest moments of your life. Chances are, those are also the moments that taught you the most, reshaped your mindset, and forced you to evolve. Pain is life's most effective teacher. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." Stoicism embraces the idea that obstacles are not merely inconveniences, but opportunities to strengthen ourselves. Pain strips away the unnecessary, leaving us to confront what truly matters. It forces us to reflect, recalibrate, and take action. Take Sarah's story. After losing her business in a financial downturn, she felt shattered. Her identity was so tied to her success that failure felt like the end of the world. But in the ruins of her old life, she discovered resilience. She rebuilt not only her business, but also her confidence, learning lessons she would never have encountered without failure. Years later, she credits that painful experience as the foundation for her greatest achievements. It's easy to resent pain and hardship, but doing so robs you of the growth they offer. Pain forces you to confront your limitations, whether it's your ego, fear of failure, or resistance to change. It's not the pain itself that shapes you, it's how you respond to it. Those who let pain consume them become bitter and stagnant. Those who embrace it as a tool for growth emerge stronger, wiser, and more capable. Stoicism teaches us to reframe pain. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" Pain doesn't happen to punish you. It happens to prepare you. It's a signal that something needs to change, whether it's your perspective, habits, or environment. The next time you face pain, remind yourself, this is temporary. Growth is permanent. Let the pain refine you, not define you. Each scar you carry is a testament to your resilience and a reminder that you've survived and thrived through challenges before. Pain is inevitable, but how you use it is up to you. 10. Blaming others for problems. Hands control of your life to them. Blame feels good in the short term. When things go wrong, pointing the finger at someone else is a way of deflecting responsibility and protecting your ego. But while blaming others may feel like taking control, it actually does the opposite. It gives away your power. When you blame others, you're saying, "This problem is out of my hands." You place your fate in someone else's control, relinquishing the ability to change your circumstances. Stoicism teaches us the opposite, to take full responsibility for our lives, regardless of external circumstances. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This mindset puts the focus where it belongs, on you. Consider James. For years, he blamed his lack of career advancement on a toxic boss who refused to recognize his potential. While his resentment grew, his progress stagnated. It wasn't until James decided to stop blaming his boss and start taking ownership of his own development, networking, acquiring new skills, and seeking opportunities elsewhere, that his career finally took off. Blame keeps you stuck. It creates a victim mentality that focuses on problems instead of solutions. The truth is, people and circumstances will always challenge you, but blaming them for your problems doesn't change anything. It only delays the action you need to take to improve your life. Taking responsibility doesn't mean everything is your fault, but it does mean everything is your responsibility. You can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond. This shift in mindset transforms blame into empowerment. Instead of asking, "Who's at fault?" ask, "What can I do to fix this?" Blaming others also weakens your relationships. When you constantly point fingers, you alienate those around you and lose the trust and respect that come with accountability. True strength lies in admitting when you've made mistakes and working to correct them, not in deflecting responsibility. The next time you're tempted to blame someone else, pause. Reflect on what you can do to take control of the situation. By shifting your focus from blame to action, you reclaim your power and move forward with purpose. Remember, blaming others only hands them control of your life. Owning your problems is the first step to solving them. 11. Regret is inevitable. Choose the regrets you can live with. Regret is a universal human experience. No matter how carefully you plan, how much you strive to make the right decisions, or how much you avoid risks, regret will find its way into your life. The Stoic perspective on this truth is refreshingly practical. Instead of trying to avoid regret altogether, focus on choosing the regrets you can live with. Every decision you make has a cost. When you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else. When you pursue one path, you leave another unexplored. This is life's inescapable reality. Regret often arises not because we've made a mistake, but because we fear what we might have missed out on. Consider Anna, who spent years climbing the corporate ladder. She achieved her dream of becoming a top executive, but often wondered if she had missed her chance to start a family. On the other hand, her friend Mia chose to leave a promising career to stay home with her children and later regretted not pursuing her ambitions. Both women faced regret, but the key difference was this: Anna felt at peace with her choice, while Mia didn't. Why? Because Anna aligned her decision with her values, while Mia acted out of fear and pressure. The Stoic approach encourages you to consider your values and priorities before making decisions. Regret is inevitable, but it doesn't have to haunt you if you choose consciously. Ask yourself, will this decision bring me closer to the life I want to live? Am I acting out of fear, convenience, or societal expectations? Or am I acting in alignment with my purpose and principles? Stoicism reminds us that the only regrets worth having are those that come from pursuing what matters most. It's better to try and fail than to never try and wonder, what if? Regretting action is often easier to live with than regretting inaction, because action moves you forward, teaches you lessons, and brings clarity. When you choose the regrets you can live with, you take control of your narrative. You accept that you'll never get everything right, but you can still live a fulfilling life. Regret doesn't have to be a source of suffering. It can be a signpost that guides you toward better decisions in the future. Remember, you will always have regrets, but living a life true to yourself means you can face those regrets with dignity and peace. Choose wisely. 12. Hitting rock bottom can make you fearless and more willing to take risks. Hitting rock bottom is a terrifying prospect for most people. It's the place where everything seems lost, where the weight of failure feels unbearable, and where hope often feels like a distant memory. Yet, paradoxically, rock bottom can also be the most liberating place you'll ever find yourself. When you hit rock bottom, you lose the fear of losing. You've already faced the worst-case scenario, and you're still standing. The Stoics saw immense value in this. Seneca famously practiced voluntary discomfort to remind himself that even if he lost everything, he could endure it. He understood that when you strip away all the excess, you discover what truly matters and what you're truly capable of. Take Ethan's story as an example. After his business collapsed and his marriage ended, he felt like he had nothing left. At first, despair consumed him, but over time, he realized he had nothing more to lose. This newfound perspective gave him the courage to take bold risks he never would have considered before. He started a new business in an entirely different field, moved to a new city, and even reconnected with old friends. Hitting rock bottom gave him the clarity and courage to rebuild his life on his terms. When you're at rock bottom, the fear of judgment fades. The people whose opinions once controlled you seem irrelevant because you're no longer playing their game. This freedom allows you to act boldly, take risks, and embrace opportunities without hesitation. Stoicism teaches that adversity can be the seed of growth. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Rock bottom isn't the end. It's the beginning of a new path, one where you can move forward without the baggage of fear. However, hitting rock bottom doesn't mean you'll automatically bounce back stronger. The choice is yours. You can wallow in despair, or you can use the experience as fuel for reinvention. The key is to recognize that your lowest point is not your final destination. It's a turning point, a place where you can rebuild with wisdom, resilience, and clarity. If you ever find yourself at rock bottom, remember, this is where transformation begins. Embrace the freedom that comes from having nothing to lose, and use it to take the risks you've been avoiding. Life is uncertain, but when you face the worst, uncertainty becomes less intimidating. Rock bottom can be the foundation on which you build the rest of your life. 13. Most people don't think about you as much as you fear they do. One of life's most liberating truths is this: people don't think about you nearly as much as you fear they do. It's a truth we resist because deep down, most of us crave validation and approval. Yet, once you accept this fact, you free yourself from the chains of worrying about others' opinions. Think about it. How often do you truly spend time analyzing someone else's life, choices, or failures? Perhaps you notice something fleetingly, a mistake, a social misstep, but then your mind quickly returns to your own world, your own challenges, and your own priorities. The same applies to others. They're far too consumed by their own lives to spend much time thinking about yours. The fear of judgment is a mental prison. It's the reason you hesitate to take risks, to speak up, or to follow your dreams. You imagine a chorus of critics watching your every move, waiting for you to fail. But that chorus doesn't exist. Most people are too busy worrying about their own lives to give you more than a passing thought. This is not to say no one will ever judge you. People may form opinions or make comments, but their attention is fleeting. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, wrote, "We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." He recognized the absurdity of placing so much weight on others' thoughts when those thoughts are neither consistent nor enduring. Take John, a man who spent years avoiding public speaking because he feared looking foolish. One day, he was forced to give a presentation at work. Despite stumbling over a few words, the feedback was overwhelmingly positive. Later, he asked a colleague about the moments he thought were disastrous. The colleague shrugged and said, "I didn't even notice." What John agonized over for hours was something others forgot in seconds. When you realize how little space you occupy in others' minds, you gain the courage to act. You stop hesitating. You stop obsessing over appearances. Instead, you focus on living authentically, making choices aligned with your values, and pursuing what truly matters to you. The Stoics remind us that what truly belongs to us is our own judgment, our own choices, and our own character. Free yourself from the fear of judgment, and you reclaim your power. You become unshaken, willing to take risks, and unafraid to fail. So the next time you catch yourself holding back because of what others might think, remember this: they're not thinking about you as much as you think they are. And even if they are, their opinions won't define your life. Only your actions will. 14. Success requires obsessive dedication and sacrifices. Success is a beautiful illusion until you realize the price it demands. Behind every achievement is a story of relentless effort, countless sacrifices, and unwavering focus. Many people admire success from a distance, but few are willing to endure what it takes to achieve it. The truth is that success doesn't happen by accident. It's not luck, talent, or a stroke of fortune. It's the result of obsessive dedication. Whether it's building a business, mastering a skill, or excelling in a career, true success requires pouring your energy, time, and attention into a single pursuit. Take an athlete like Michael Jordan. He's celebrated as one of the greatest basketball players of all time, but what's often overlooked is the sheer obsession behind his success. Jordan was known for his brutal training regimen, his willingness to outwork everyone else, and his refusal to accept mediocrity. While others rested, he practiced. While others celebrated, he prepared for the next challenge. But with obsession comes sacrifice. To excel in one area of life, you must be willing to let go of others. Relationships, leisure time, and even health are often placed on the altar of ambition. It's not an easy choice, and it's not one to be taken lightly. For example, consider Sarah, an entrepreneur who spent years building a successful company. She worked 80-hour weeks, skipped social gatherings, and even missed significant family milestones. While she achieved her goal of financial independence, she later admitted that the sacrifices came at a cost. Success is not free, it's a trade-off, and each person must decide what they're willing to give up. The Stoic approach to success teaches us to pursue excellence without losing sight of what truly matters. Marcus Aurelius advised, "Do not be overheard complaining, either to yourself or others." The path to success is hard, but it's also a choice. If you choose it, embrace it fully, and accept the sacrifices it demands without bitterness. Obsession is necessary, but balance is wisdom. The key is to know your why. Why are you pursuing this goal? Is it for fame, money, or validation? Or is it because it aligns with your purpose and values? When your pursuit is rooted in meaning, the sacrifices become easier to bear. Ultimately, success is not about achieving a final destination. It's about who you become in the process. The obsessive dedication you bring to your craft shapes your character, your discipline, and your resilience. The sacrifices, though painful, are part of the price for becoming extraordinary. Remember, success isn't given, it's earned. And it's earned through the unglamorous, relentless grind that most people are unwilling to endure. If you're willing to pay the price, success can be yours. But if you're not, then admire it from a distance, knowing that it's a choice, not a gift. 15. Pain is inevitable. How you use it defines your character. Pain is an inescapable part of life. Whether it's physical, emotional, or mental, no one goes through life without experiencing it. The difference between those who rise above and those who stay stuck lies in how they respond to it. Pain, if used wisely, can be the greatest teacher and the most powerful catalyst for growth. Consider this. When you go to the gym and lift weights, you feel discomfort. Your muscles ache, your breath quickens, and your body protests. But it's precisely this pain that triggers growth. Without it, your muscles wouldn't strengthen, and your endurance wouldn't improve. The same principle applies to life's challenges. Pain breaks you down only to rebuild you stronger, if you let it. The Stoics understood this well. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." Pain is not an obstacle, it is the path. When faced with adversity, you have two choices. Let it define you as a victim, or use it to forge resilience and strength. The choice is yours, but the outcomes couldn't be more different. Take a man like Viktor Frankl, who endured unimaginable suffering in a Nazi concentration camp. He lost his family, his possessions, and his freedom. Yet, instead of succumbing to despair, he found purpose in his pain. He wrote Man's Search for Meaning, a book that has inspired millions, proving that even in the darkest times, one can find light. In contrast, consider those who let pain consume them. They dwell on their misfortunes, blame others, and remain stuck in a cycle of bitterness. They let pain harden their hearts and close their minds to growth. It's not the pain itself that defines them, but their unwillingness to use it as a stepping stone towards something greater. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Suffering comes from resistance, resisting the lesson, resisting the growth, and resisting the reality of what has happened. Instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" This shift in mindset transforms pain from a burden into a tool for self-discovery. To use pain effectively, reflect on it. Journal your thoughts, talk to a mentor, or meditate. Ask yourself what the experience is trying to teach you. Perhaps it's resilience, patience, or the courage to let go. Then take action. Use that lesson to move forward, stronger and wiser than before. Pain doesn't last forever, but the strength you gain from enduring it does. Embrace it as part of your journey. After all, diamonds are formed under pressure, and so are the strongest versions of ourselves. 16. Failure to commit. Wastes time and limits progress. In a world full of options, the inability to commit is one of the greatest obstacles to success. When you refuse to choose a path, you waste precious time and energy, spinning your wheels without moving forward. Indecision isn't harmless. It's a thief that steals your potential. Picture a sailor trying to reach a distant shore. If they constantly change course, unsure of which direction to take, they'll never arrive. The same principle applies to life. Without commitment, you drift aimlessly, never fully investing in any endeavor, and never reaping the rewards of dedication. The fear of commitment often stems from the fear of failure. What if I choose the wrong career, partner, or project? What if I waste time on something that doesn't work out? But here's the irony. By avoiding commitment, you waste more time than you would by failing and learning from your mistakes. The Stoics remind us that inaction is often worse than the wrong action. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Wasting time comes from indecision, waiting for perfect conditions, the perfect opportunity, or the perfect plan. Perfection never comes. Progress only happens when you commit to a course and take action, even if it's imperfect. Consider the story of Sarah, who spent years dabbling in different career paths, never fully committing to one. She feared making the wrong choice, so she made no choice at all. Meanwhile, her peers who chose and failed learned valuable lessons, adjusted their paths, and eventually found success. By the time Sarah decided to take action, she realized she was years behind. Commitment doesn't mean you'll never adjust your course. It means giving your full energy and focus to a goal until it becomes clear whether to stay the course or pivot. Without commitment, you never gain the clarity that comes from experience. You remain stuck in analysis paralysis, wondering what if, instead of discovering what is. To overcome the fear of commitment, start small. Choose a goal and dedicate a set amount of time to it. 6 months, a year, or even a week. During that time, give it your all. Evaluate your progress at the end, but don't allow yourself to quit prematurely. This builds the muscle of commitment and teaches you the value of seeing things through. Remember, life rewards those who commit. Success doesn't come from dabbling. It comes from diving in, taking risks, and learning as you go. Failure may sting, but the pain of regret from never trying is far worse. So, stop waiting for perfect conditions. Choose a path, commit fully, and trust that progress will follow. After all, the only true failure is failing to begin. 17. Fear of insignificance drives many people, not just the fear of failure. Beneath the fear of failure lies a deeper, more profound fear, the fear of insignificance. It's not just the worry of making mistakes that holds people back. It's the haunting question of whether their life will truly matter. This fear drives more decisions, more sleepless nights, and more unfulfilled dreams than most people care to admit. Think about it. Failure is temporary, but insignificance feels permanent. When people picture their future, they often don't fear falling. They fear being forgotten. They dread the possibility that their efforts won't leave a lasting impact, that they'll fade into obscurity like a drop in the ocean. The fear of insignificance can either paralyze or motivate. It paralyzes when people obsess over their legacy to the point of inaction. They worry so much about doing something meaningful that they end up doing nothing at all. On the other hand, it can motivate those who embrace the discomfort and use it as fuel to create, contribute, and live with purpose. The Stoics remind us that significance doesn't come from others' recognition. It comes from living in alignment with your values. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Insignificance isn't about what others think. It's about whether you've lived authentically and done what truly matters to you. Take the example of a woman named Clara, who spent years chasing external validation. She climbed the corporate ladder, earned accolades, and amassed wealth, but none of it filled the void. It wasn't until she started mentoring others and giving back to her community that she felt her life had meaning. Clara realized that significance isn't about applause, it's about impact. To overcome the fear of insignificance, focus on what you can control. Stop worrying about whether your actions will be remembered by others and start asking whether they align with your values. What brings you fulfillment? What legacy do you want to leave behind, even if no one else notices? Understand that insignificance is a myth. Every action you take, no matter how small, ripples outward. Helping one person, sharing one idea, or creating one meaningful moment can have an impact you may never fully see. The world is changed not by grand gestures, but by countless small, purposeful acts. Ultimately, the fear of insignificance diminishes when you focus less on how the world perceives you and more on the life you build for yourself. As the Stoics teach, significance isn't bestowed upon you. It's something you create by living with courage, integrity, and purpose. 18. True revenge is success, not resentment or bitterness. Revenge often feels like the natural response to being wronged. When someone hurts you, the instinct is to make them feel the same pain, to level the playing field, or to prove them wrong. But here's the hard truth. Revenge based on resentment and bitterness does more damage to you than to anyone else. The real victory lies in success, not in dwelling on the wrong, but in rising above it. Bitterness is a trap. It ties you to the very person or situation you wish to escape. The energy you spend plotting revenge or replaying the hurt is energy that could be spent building the life you deserve. Stoic philosophy warns us about this. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." If your emotions are controlled by your enemies, you're handing them the keys to your peace of mind. Imagine a man named Victor who was betrayed by a business partner. He spent months consumed by anger, fantasizing about ways to ruin his former partner's reputation. Meanwhile, his own business began to falter because he was too distracted to focus on it. One day, Victor decided to channel his energy into growing his company instead. Over time, his success became the ultimate revenge, not because it harmed his partner, but because it proved he didn't need to stoop to his level to thrive. True revenge isn't about hurting someone else. It's about becoming the best version of yourself. Success not only heals the wounds of betrayal, but it also renders the actions of others insignificant. When you're busy building a fulfilling life, the opinions and actions of those who wronged you fade into irrelevance. The process isn't easy. Letting go of bitterness requires humility and self-control. It means acknowledging that revenge won't bring you the satisfaction you seek. Instead, focus on what truly matters: your goals, your growth, and your happiness. To embrace this mindset, start by forgiving, not for their sake, but for your own. Forgiveness isn't about condoning what happened. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of anger. Then, shift your focus. Set ambitious goals and pour your energy into achieving them. Every step you take toward your own success is a step away from the negativity of the past. As the saying goes, the best revenge is living well. Let your accomplishments speak louder than your grievances. Let your happiness shine brighter than your pain. True revenge lies not in bringing others down, but in lifting yourself up. After all, the ultimate victory is a life well lived, one where bitterness has no place. 19. Toxic motivations, like anger or resentment, can hijack your goals. Motivation is a powerful force, but not all motivations are created equal. While anger, resentment, or a need to prove others wrong can provide a temporary spark, they're like faulty fuel. They'll eventually burn out, leaving you stranded or worse, steering you off course. Toxic motivations might feel empowering at first, but they often hijack your goals, leading you down paths that aren't aligned with your true desires. Consider a man named Daniel. After being overlooked for a promotion, he became consumed by resentment. Determined to prove his worth, he poured himself into work with a relentless drive. On the surface, it seemed like he was thriving, meeting targets, earning accolades, but inside, his bitterness ate away at him. His relationships suffered, his health declined, and he realized that his success was hollow because it was driven by anger, not passion. The Stoics teach us to examine our motives carefully. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. If your goals are rooted in toxic emotions, you're allowing others to dictate your path. Instead of focusing on growth, you become trapped in a cycle of reaction, constantly measuring yourself against those who wronged you. Toxic motivations distort your vision. Anger narrows your focus, making you chase short-term wins instead of long-term fulfillment. Resentment drains your energy, leaving little room for creativity or joy. Over time, these emotions erode your sense of purpose, turning your goals into burdens rather than aspirations. To break free, start by reflecting on your why. Why do you want to achieve a particular goal? Is it to prove someone wrong? Or is it because the goal aligns with your values and passions? If your motivation stems from a negative place, it's time to reframe your perspective. Let go of the desire to win against others and focus on winning for yourself. Forgiveness is a crucial step in this process. It doesn't mean excusing those who hurt you. It means refusing to let their actions control your life. When you forgive, you reclaim your energy and redirect it toward building the life you want. Channel your drive into goals that bring you genuine satisfaction, not fleeting vindication. Lastly, practice gratitude. Shift your focus from what you've lost or what's been done to you to what you have and what you can create. Gratitude recenters your motivation, reminding you that your journey is about growth, not retaliation. True success is fueled by positive intentions. When your goals come from a place of love, curiosity, or a desire to contribute, the journey becomes as rewarding as the destination. Toxic motivations, on the other hand, are like chains. They might push you forward for a while, but they'll always hold you back in the end. 20. Many people live by rules they didn't choose, often dictated by societal or family expectations. One of life's most painful realizations is that many of us are playing by rules we never chose. From childhood, we're handed a script written by society, family, or cultural norms, and we're expected to follow it without question. Go to school, get a job, get married, buy a house, have kids, retire. It's a life path designed for stability, but not necessarily for fulfillment. The problem arises when these expectations clash with your personal values or dreams. You might wake up one day and realize you're chasing goals that don't feel like your own. Maybe you're working in a field you dislike because it's what your parents wanted. Maybe you're in a relationship because you felt pressured to settle down. Or maybe you've avoided pursuing a passion because society labeled it impractical or unworthy. Stoic philosophy urges us to question these inherited rules. Epictetus said, "Know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly." Living authentically means shedding the expectations that don't serve you and defining success on your own terms. But this is easier said than done. Breaking free from societal or familial pressures often comes with guilt, fear of judgment, or even outright resistance from those around you. Take the story of Laura, a lawyer who followed her parents' dream instead of her own. She spent years excelling in her career, but she was miserable. Her true passion was art, but she suppressed it because she feared disappointing her family. It wasn't until she suffered a health scare that she decided to leave her job and pursue painting full-time. The decision wasn't easy, but it brought her a sense of peace and fulfillment she'd never experienced before. Living by someone else's rules is like running a marathon with no finish line. No matter how fast or far you go, you'll never feel like you've arrived. True fulfillment comes from identifying what matters to you, not your parents, not society, not anyone else, and shaping your life around those priorities. To start, ask yourself, whose expectations am I living up to? If the answer isn't your own, it's time to reevaluate. Begin setting boundaries with those who impose their ideals on you. Boundaries don't mean cutting people off. They mean making space for your voice to be heard. Next, take small steps toward your authentic goals. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. Start by dedicating a few hours a week to something that lights you up, whether it's a hobby, a side project, or simply exploring new possibilities. Finally, let go of the need for approval. Not everyone will understand your choices, and that's okay. The Stoics remind us that the opinions of others are outside our control. What matters is that you live in alignment with your truth. The freedom to choose your own path is one of life's greatest privileges. Don't waste it chasing a dream that isn't yours. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Define your rules, live by them, and watch your life transform. 21. Approval from others may never come, even after achieving your goals. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but no matter how much you achieve, the approval you seek from others may never come. You might earn the degree, land the dream job, or build the life you envisioned, but the validation you hoped for, whether from parents, peers, or society, might still be withheld. And even if it's granted, it often feels hollow, fleeting, and insufficient. Why? Because the need for external approval is like chasing the horizon. It always recedes. Human nature craves validation, but when it's rooted in others' opinions, it becomes a moving target. People's expectations shift, and their attention wanes. You could climb the highest mountain, and someone will still ask why you didn't choose a taller peak. Consider Jack, a successful entrepreneur who built a thriving business. For years, he worked tirelessly, hoping to hear his father say, "I'm proud of you." But when Jack finally achieved financial success, his father's response was lukewarm. "Why don't you aim for a bigger market?" No matter what Jack accomplished, his father's approval remained out of reach, leaving Jack disillusioned and empty. The Stoics warned us about the futility of seeking external validation. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." This is a profound reminder that placing your self-worth in the hands of others is a losing game. The antidote lies in shifting your focus inward. Instead of seeking approval, aim for alignment with your values. Ask yourself, am I proud of the person I'm becoming? Am I acting with integrity and purpose? When your self-worth comes from within, you become unshakable. Others' opinions may still sting, but they no longer control you. Learning to let go of the need for approval requires practice. Start by celebrating your wins, no matter how small, without waiting for others to acknowledge them. Reflect on what success means to you, not what it looks like to others. Surround yourself with people who genuinely support you, but remember that their validation is a bonus, not a necessity. Finally, accept that not everyone will understand your journey, and that's okay. People project their fears, biases, and insecurities onto others. Their lack of approval often says more about them than it does about you. True freedom comes when you stop performing for an audience and start living for yourself. As you embrace this mindset, you'll find that the approval you were chasing no longer matters. Your confidence will come from knowing you're walking your path, not from waiting for others to applaud. 22. Your past. Challenges. Shape your best qualities, even if it's hard to see at the time. Life's toughest moments often feel unbearable while they're happening, but with time, they reveal their true purpose. Your past challenges, the heartbreaks, failures, and struggles, shape your character, even if it's hard to appreciate in the moment. They refine your resilience, teach you empathy, and uncover strengths you didn't know you had. Take Sarah, for example. As a teenager, she struggled with severe social anxiety. Speaking in public felt like torture, and she avoided it at all costs. But years later, after pushing herself to confront her fears, Sarah became a therapist. Her journey through anxiety gave her a deep understanding of others' struggles and the tools to help them. What once seemed like a curse became her greatest asset. The Stoics believed that adversity is not just an obstacle, but a teacher. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." Challenges force you to grow in ways comfort never could. They strip away illusions, revealing who you truly are and what you're capable of. However, it's not always easy to see the silver lining while you're in the thick of it. Pain blinds you to its purpose, and it's natural to wish it away. But consider this: the oak tree's strength comes from enduring storms, not avoiding them. The same is true for you. To embrace this truth, start by reframing your struggles. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What is this teaching me?" Pain becomes more bearable when you see it as a tool for growth rather than an endless punishment. Next, reflect on past challenges you've overcome. What qualities did they help you develop? Perhaps a difficult breakup taught you independence. Maybe a career setback forced you to pivot to something more fulfilling. Recognizing how struggles have shaped you builds gratitude for the journey, even if it was painful. Finally, use your experiences to uplift others. Sharing your story not only helps you process it, but also inspires those facing similar challenges. Your past struggles, once a source of shame or frustration, can become a beacon of hope for someone else. Remember, the most valuable lessons are rarely learned in comfort. They're forged in the fires of adversity, making you stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. Trust that even when life feels unbearable, it's preparing you for something greater. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." Embrace them, and you'll emerge not just intact, but transformed. 23. Happiness comes from the process, not the destination of your goals. We're conditioned to believe that happiness lies in reaching the finish line, the promotion, the dream house, the ideal weight. Yet, how many times have you achieved a goal only to feel a fleeting sense of satisfaction before setting your sights on the next milestone? The truth is, happiness isn't found at the destination. It's cultivated in the journey. Consider this. You spend months training for a marathon. The early morning runs, the sore muscles, and the discipline all become part of your life. On race day, you cross the finish line to cheers and applause, but the joy lasts only a moment. What lingers is the pride in the effort you put in, the friendships you made with fellow runners, and the growth you experienced along the way. This principle is rooted in Stoic philosophy. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." It's not the achievement itself, but how you engage with the process that determines your fulfillment. Goals are important, but they should serve as a compass, not a source of happiness. Modern society often traps us in a destination mindset, convincing us that joy lies in ticking boxes. But this creates a perpetual cycle of dissatisfaction, as each goal achieved reveals a new one to pursue. The irony is that when we focus entirely on outcomes, we miss the richness of the journey, the lessons learned, the connections made, and the person we become in the process. How can you embrace the journey? First, redefine success. Instead of measuring it by external achievements, look at the growth and effort you've put in. Celebrate progress, no matter how small. Each step forward, even if it's imperfect, is worth acknowledging. Next, stay present. Mindfulness can help you savor the small victories and joys along the way. Whether it's the satisfaction of a productive day or the resilience you show after a setback, take a moment to appreciate these experiences. They are the building blocks of happiness. Finally, detach from the outcome. This doesn't mean abandoning your goals, but rather recognizing that the process itself has value, regardless of the result. Even if you fall short, the journey will leave you stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the next challenge. Happiness is not a trophy to be won. It's a state of mind cultivated through effort, resilience, and gratitude. By shifting your focus from the destination to the process, you unlock a deeper, more enduring sense of fulfillment. 24. Society will root for you until you surpass their expectations, then you may face resentment. When you're starting out, society loves a good underdog story. People cheer for your rise, encourage your efforts, and celebrate your small victories. But once you begin to surpass their expectations, once your success begins to highlight their own shortcomings, support can turn into resentment. Imagine Lisa, a self-taught artist who struggled for years to make ends meet. Her friends and family admired her perseverance and bought her paintings to support her dream. But when her work gained national attention and she became financially successful, the tone shifted. Jealous whispers replaced praise, and her success became a reminder of what others hadn't achieved. This phenomenon is rooted in human nature. People like to see others succeed, just not too much. When someone rises above societal norms, it challenges the status quo and exposes insecurities. As Theodore Roosevelt put it, comparison is the thief of joy. Your success might inadvertently become a mirror reflecting others' unfulfilled ambitions. Stoicism offers wisdom for navigating this reality. Epictetus advised, "Seek not the good in external things, seek it in yourselves. If you depend on others' validation, you give them power over your peace." True fulfillment comes from aligning with your values, not from being liked or accepted. How do you handle resentment from others? First, recognize that it's not about you. People's reactions often stem from their own struggles and fears. Their resentment says more about their relationship with themselves than it does about your achievements. Second, stay humble. Success doesn't make you superior, and humility can disarm envy. Share your journey, the struggles, failures, and lessons, so others see the human side of your success. Vulnerability builds connection and reminds people that achievement isn't magical, it's earned. Lastly, protect your energy. As you grow, some relationships may no longer serve you. That's okay. Surround yourself with people who celebrate your success without feeling threatened by it. Their support will keep you grounded and motivated. Remember, you're not responsible for how others perceive your success. What matters is that you remain true to your values and purpose. Society's shifting opinions are beyond your control, but your response to them is entirely within your power. Keep striving, not for their approval, but for the satisfaction of knowing you're fulfilling your potential. 25. Success attracts hate. It's an indicator of progress. The more you achieve, the more attention you'll attract, and not all of it will be positive. Success is a spotlight that doesn't just illuminate your accomplishments, it also casts shadows where envy and resentment hide. People often hate what they don't understand or what reminds them of their own unfulfilled potential. Ironically, This hate is often the clearest sign that you're on the right path. Consider the stories of groundbreaking innovators, entrepreneurs, or artists. Figures like Elon Musk or J.K. Rowling are celebrated for their achievements, yet they face constant criticism, online trolling, and even outright hostility. Their success challenges norms, disrupts the status quo, and forces people to confront their own limitations. Hate becomes inevitable. Marcus Aurelius reminds us in Meditations, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, 'The people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they can't tell good from evil.'" This is a powerful Stoic insight. People's negativity is not about you. It's about their inability to process their own emotions. Why does success attract hate? For some, your progress becomes a reflection of their stagnation. Others may feel threatened, fearing that your rise diminishes their own worth. Your success breaks the unspoken social contract to stay comfortably mediocre, which can be unsettling for those who prefer the comfort of conformity. So, how should you deal with this inevitable hate? First, don't let it derail you. Remember that criticism often says more about the critic than the target. If the hate is baseless, let it roll off your back. If there's truth to it, use it as constructive feedback to improve. Second, embrace the discomfort of being misunderstood. It's part of growth. True leaders and innovators rarely enjoy universal approval, but they stay the course because they believe in their vision. Lastly, view hate as a badge of honor. It's proof that you're making waves, challenging norms, and stepping out of your comfort zone. If no one is talking about you, good or bad, it might mean you're not pushing hard enough. Success isn't about pleasing everyone. It's about living authentically and striving toward your goals. Hate is merely a byproduct of progress. The key is to stay focused on your journey and let the noise fade into the background. 26. Discomfort is unavoidable in the pursuit of worthwhile goals. There's a universal truth that many people try to escape. Any goal worth pursuing will come with discomfort. Whether it's the physical strain of training for a marathon, the emotional challenge of having a difficult conversation, or the mental grind of building a business, growth demands a price. Discomfort isn't a sign that something is wrong. It's a sign that something is happening. Think of it as the growing pains of transformation. Just as a caterpillar must struggle to emerge from its cocoon, we too must endure discomfort to reach our full potential. Epictetus taught, "Difficulties are things that show a person what they are." The willingness to embrace discomfort is what separates those who achieve greatness from those who settle for mediocrity. While most people avoid pain and seek immediate gratification, successful individuals recognize that temporary discomfort is the gateway to lasting fulfillment. Why do so many shy away from discomfort? It's human nature to seek safety and avoid risk. The brain is wired to protect you from danger, and discomfort feels like a threat. But in modern life, this instinct often backfires. Avoiding discomfort leads to stagnation, unfulfilled potential, and a life of regret. Take the example of someone who dreams of writing a novel. The discomfort of early mornings, facing a blank page, and risking rejection might seem unbearable, but avoiding that discomfort means never bringing their story to life. In the end, the pain of regret far outweighs the pain of effort. How can you embrace discomfort? First, reframe it as a sign of progress. Instead of fearing the burn of a workout, welcome it as evidence that your body is growing stronger. Instead of dreading a tough conversation, view it as an opportunity to build deeper relationships. Second, start small. Growth doesn't require jumping into extreme challenges right away. Gradually expose yourself to discomfort in manageable doses. This builds resilience and trains your mind to see discomfort as a natural part of life. Lastly, anchor yourself in your why. When discomfort feels overwhelming, remind yourself of the purpose behind your efforts. Whether it's building a better future for your family, achieving a lifelong dream, or becoming the best version of yourself, keeping your goals in focus will make the discomfort more bearable. Discomfort is not the enemy, it's a teacher. Each challenge you face, each moment of struggle, is a step closer to the life you envision. Embrace it, and you'll discover a strength within you that you never knew existed. 27. True self-love involves holding yourself to high standards and believing in your potential. Self-love is often misunderstood as accepting oneself exactly as they are, flaws and all, without any desire for improvement. While acceptance is an essential part of self-love, true self-love goes beyond mere acceptance. It's about recognizing your potential and striving to fulfill it. It's not about settling for mediocrity, but about challenging yourself to reach higher. Think of self-love as parenting yourself. A loving parent doesn't let their child skip school, eat junk food every day, or avoid responsibilities. Instead, they guide their child to grow, learn, and build a better future. Similarly, loving yourself means setting high standards and holding yourself accountable to meet them. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." This Stoic wisdom reminds us that self-love is not passive. It's about action, discipline, and living in alignment with your highest values. It means refusing to let yourself off the hook for laziness, procrastination, or excuses. The problem with low standards is that they lead to a life of regret. Imagine looking back and realizing you didn't push yourself to be the best you could be. True self-love is about avoiding that regret by committing to your growth, even when it's uncomfortable. How do you practice self-love through high standards? Start by identifying areas where you're falling short, not as a way to judge yourself, but as a way to improve. Be honest about where you're holding back or settling for less than you deserve. Then, set clear goals and actionable steps to bridge the gap between where you are and where you want to be. However, don't confuse high standards with perfectionism. Self-love also involves compassion and patience. You will fail, and that's okay. The key is to learn from your failures and keep moving forward. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small, and use it as fuel to keep going. True self-love is about believing in your potential and acting on that belief. It's about becoming the best version of yourself, not for others, but for you. By holding yourself to high standards, you're not just loving who you are today. You're loving the person you're capable of becoming. 28. Hard times are necessary for achieving big dreams and personal growth. There's no such thing as an easy path to greatness. Behind every success story lies a series of struggles, setbacks, and challenges that shaped the person into who they needed to be. Hard times are not obstacles to avoid. They are the crucibles that forge strength, resilience, and character. In Stoicism, adversity is seen as an opportunity for growth. Epictetus said, Difficulties show a person who they are. It's in the face of challenges that your true character is revealed and developed. Without hardship, there's no growth. Without struggle, there's no strength. Consider some of the most accomplished people in history. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. Oprah Winfrey faced rejection and trauma before becoming a global icon. These individuals didn't succeed despite their hardships. They succeeded because of them. The lessons they learned and the resilience they built through struggle became the foundation of their achievements. Why are hard times necessary? Because they push you out of your comfort zone. Growth requires discomfort, and challenges force you to adapt, innovate, and rise to the occasion. Without resistance, you stagnate. It's like working out. Muscles only grow when they're challenged by weight. Similarly, your mind and character grow when faced with adversity. Hard times also teach you to appreciate success. Achieving a big dream without struggle would feel hollow. It's the effort, the sacrifices, and the perseverance that make the victory worthwhile. The journey shapes you as much as the destination rewards you. When you're going through hard times, it's easy to feel discouraged or overwhelmed. But remember, these moments are temporary. Every challenge you face is an opportunity to grow stronger, wiser, and more capable. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" How can you embrace hard times? First, adopt a growth mindset. See challenges not as failures, but as opportunities to learn and improve. Second, focus on what you can control. You may not be able to change the situation, but you can control how you respond to it. Lastly, remind yourself of your why. Knowing the purpose behind your efforts will help you endure the hardships. Hard times are not your enemy. They are your greatest teacher. They build the resilience, determination, and skills you need to achieve your dreams. Embrace them, and you'll emerge not just stronger, but also closer to the person you were meant to become. 29. Ignorance can no longer shield you once you know better. There's a certain comfort in ignorance. It allows you to stay in your bubble, free from the weight of responsibility. But the moment you learn the truth or recognize a better path, ignorance is no longer an option. Once you know better, you are faced with a choice. Act on that knowledge or ignore it, knowing full well the consequences. Stoic philosophy emphasizes the power of knowledge and wisdom as the foundation of a meaningful life. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake in any thought or action, I shall gladly change. I seek the truth, which never harmed anyone. The harm is to persist in one's own self-deception and ignorance." In other words, knowing the truth, even if it's uncomfortable, is always preferable to living in ignorance. The problem with clinging to ignorance is that it doesn't exempt you from the consequences of your actions or inactions. Imagine someone ignoring their health, eating poorly, and skipping exercise. They might claim they didn't know better, but once they're faced with the truth, be it from a doctor or their own reflection, they can no longer hide behind ignorance. The same applies to your career, relationships, and personal growth. Once you see the gap between where you are and where you could be, it becomes your responsibility to close it. This is why some people fear self-awareness. It forces them to confront their own shortcomings. But growth isn't possible without this confrontation. Recognizing where you've been wrong or where you need to improve is the first step toward becoming a better version of yourself. Denying what you've learned or pretending you don't know better is the ultimate act of self-betrayal. The good news is that knowing better also empowers you. It gives you the tools to change your trajectory. Knowledge is a light in the darkness, but it's up to you to use it to illuminate the path forward. You may not get everything right immediately, and that's okay. The point is to make consistent progress. How can you act on what you know? Start small. If you've learned that a certain habit is holding you back, take steps to replace it with a better one. If you've gained insight into how to improve your skills or relationships, apply that knowledge, even if it feels awkward at first. Over time, these small actions compound into significant change. Remember, once you know better, staying stagnant is a choice. Ignorance may feel like bliss in the short term, but in the long run, it leads to regret. Use your knowledge as a catalyst for growth and transformation, and you'll find that the discomfort of change is far less painful than the cost of staying the same. 30. Most people settle for mediocrity, but the bar for standing out is surprisingly low. Look around you. Most people are living in a state of complacency, content with doing just enough to get by. They show up, check the boxes, and go home, never pushing themselves to achieve more. The irony is that in a world where mediocrity is the norm, standing out doesn't require extraordinary talent. It simply requires consistent effort and a willingness to go beyond the bare minimum. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control and to strive for excellence in all we do. Epictetus said, "If you want to be great, do not think it is an easy path, but one that requires effort and dedication." However, in today's world, even a modest amount of effort can set you apart because so many people lack the discipline to pursue excellence. Think about it. Showing up on time, keeping your word, maintaining basic discipline, these simple acts already put you ahead of many. In a workplace, for instance, being reliable and proactive can make you a standout employee. In relationships, showing genuine care and effort can set you apart as a friend or partner. The bar is low, not because excellence is easy, but because so few people aim for it. Why do most people settle for mediocrity? Fear of failure, laziness, and a desire for comfort are common culprits. Mediocrity feels safe. It requires little risk and no discomfort, but it also leads to a life of unfulfilled potential. Choosing mediocrity is like running a race where you stop halfway, not because you're incapable of finishing, but because you didn't feel like trying harder. Standing out doesn't mean you have to be perfect or outperform everyone in every area. It simply means committing to consistent improvement. Instead of aiming to be the best at everything, aim to be better than you were yesterday. This mindset alone will set you apart because most people aren't even trying. How can you break free from mediocrity? Start by identifying areas where you've been coasting. Is it your health, your career, your relationships? Once you pinpoint these areas, set specific, achievable goals. Focus on small, consistent actions rather than grand gestures. Excellence isn't about massive leaps, it's about steady progress. Also, surround yourself with people who inspire you to aim higher. Mediocrity is contagious, but so is ambition. Choose your influences wisely, and you'll find it easier to push yourself to excel. Finally, remember that standing out isn't just about external success. It's about personal fulfillment. When you give your best effort, you build self-respect and confidence. You may not always get the results you want, but knowing you tried your hardest is a reward in itself. In a world where mediocrity reigns, excellence is a form of rebellion. Be the person who shows up, puts in the effort, and strives for more. Not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. 31. The gap between your current self and ideal self can be painful, but is a driving force for change. Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt a sharp pang of discomfort, not because of how you look, but because of the distance between who you are today and who you know you could be? That gap, the space between your current self and your ideal self, can feel like a deep wound. It's a source of frustration, even anguish. But if you learn to see it differently, that same discomfort can become the fuel that drives you toward growth. This idea is central to Stoic philosophy, which encourages us to focus on what we can control and strive for continuous self-improvement. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about becoming the best version of oneself. He said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." In other words, stop lamenting the gap and start closing it. The pain of this gap often stems from unmet potential. You might feel like you're not as disciplined, confident, or accomplished as you could be. And while it's tempting to numb this discomfort through distractions, avoidance, or even excuses, doing so only keeps you stuck. That pain exists for a reason. It's your inner compass telling you to act, to grow, to evolve. But why does the gap hurt so much? Because it confronts you with the reality of your choices. It forces you to acknowledge the ways you've held yourself back, whether through fear, laziness, or self-doubt. It's easier to blame external circumstances than to face the fact that you might be falling short of your potential. Yet, this honesty is a gift. Without it, there's no progress. The key is to channel this pain constructively. Instead of letting it paralyze you, use it as a reminder that you have the power to change. Start by clarifying what your ideal self looks like. Is it someone who is more disciplined, kind, or courageous? Be specific. Once you have a clear vision, break it down into actionable steps. If your ideal self is more disciplined, what small habits can you build today? If your ideal self is healthier, what changes can you make to your diet or exercise routine? Progress doesn't have to be dramatic. The important thing is to take consistent steps. Each small victory, waking up on time, completing a workout, or resisting a temptation, closes the gap bit by bit. Over time, these actions compound and the gap begins to shrink. Remember, the gap is not your enemy. It's a mirror reflecting both your potential and your responsibility. Embrace it, and you'll find that the pain it causes is temporary, but the growth it inspires is lasting. 32. Conforming to others' expectations leads to resentment and frustration. Living your life according to others' expectations might feel safe at first, but it's a dangerous trap. Over time, it creates a growing sense of resentment and frustration, as if your life no longer belongs to you. Every decision made to please someone else is a small betrayal of your true self, and those betrayals add up. Stoicism teaches us to focus on living authentically, guided by our own values rather than the opinions or judgments of others. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." This might sound harsh, but it captures a profound truth. If you care too much about others' approval, you'll never have the freedom to pursue your own path. Why do so many people conform? Fear of rejection, judgment, or disappointing others often drives this behavior. You might take a job you hate to meet family expectations, or stay in a relationship that no longer serves you because of societal pressure. At first, these choices seem like compromises, but over time, they become prisons. The problem is that no matter how hard you try, you can never fully satisfy everyone's expectations. People's opinions are inconsistent and often contradictory. What pleases one person might upset another. Chasing approval is like trying to fill a bucket with holes. It's exhausting and ultimately futile. The cost of conforming is steep. It drains your energy, erodes your self-respect, and stifles your growth. Worst of all, it creates resentment, not just toward others, but toward yourself. You start to feel trapped in a life you didn't choose, wondering why you feel unfulfilled despite doing the right thing. Breaking free from this cycle requires courage. It means prioritizing your own values and desires over external expectations. This doesn't mean being selfish or dismissive of others, but rather recognizing that you can't pour from an empty cup. Living authentically allows you to give more to the people who truly matter, because you're not weighed down by resentment or regret. Start by identifying where you've been conforming. Ask yourself, am I making this decision because it aligns with my values, or because I want approval? If it's the latter, consider the long-term consequences. Will this choice bring you closer to the life you want, or further away? Once you've identified these areas, take small steps to reclaim your autonomy. Set boundaries, even if they're uncomfortable. Learn to say no without guilt. And most importantly, give yourself permission to disappoint others. Not everyone will understand your choices, and that's okay. The people who truly care about you will respect your authenticity. Living authentically isn't easy, but it's the only path to lasting fulfillment. When you stop conforming to others' expectations, you free yourself to live a life that reflects your true self. And that kind of life, rooted in honesty and integrity, is worth any temporary discomfort. 33. You're responsible for your life, and blaming others delays progress. One of the hardest truths to accept is that you are solely responsible for your life. Every choice, every action, or lack thereof, shapes your reality. Blaming others might feel justified in the moment, but it's a trap that delays your progress and keeps you stuck. Stoicism, with its emphasis on personal accountability, teaches us that external circumstances are beyond our control, but our responses to them are entirely within our power. Epictetus said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This simple yet profound idea shifts the focus away from external blame and onto internal strength. If you believe that others are responsible for your failures or unhappiness, you give them control over your life. You become a passenger instead of the driver, reactive instead of proactive. Blaming others often stems from a desire to avoid discomfort. It's easier to point fingers than to face the reality of your own choices. If you failed a project, it's tempting to blame a colleague or your boss. If you're unhappy in a relationship, you might attribute it all to your partner's flaws. But every time you do this, you lose an opportunity to grow. Blame is like a security blanket. It shields you from taking responsibility, but keeps you from moving forward. Owning your life doesn't mean ignoring the wrongs done to you. There are real injustices in the world, and sometimes others do act against your best interests. But even in those situations, your reaction is what defines your future. Will you let their actions dictate your life, or will you rise above them? Taking responsibility is empowering. It puts you back in the driver's seat and allows you to chart your own course. Start by examining where you've been placing blame. Are you blaming your parents for your financial struggles, your boss for your lack of career advancement, or your partner for your unhappiness? Acknowledge these thoughts without judgment, and then ask yourself, what can I do to change this situation? This mindset shift requires courage and humility. It's not easy to admit where you've fallen short or to face the consequences of your own decisions. But it's also liberating. When you accept responsibility, you realize that you have the power to create a better future. You stop waiting for others to change or circumstances to improve and start taking action yourself. Responsibility is the foundation of progress. It's the first step toward achieving your goals and living a fulfilled life. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Take that strength and use it to build the life you want. 34. Struggles. Build the traits necessary for success. Struggles are not obstacles, they are the building blocks of success. While they may feel overwhelming in the moment, each challenge you face is an opportunity to grow, to develop resilience, and to shape yourself into a stronger, wiser person. Stoicism reminds us that adversity is not only inevitable, but also essential for personal growth. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This means that the very obstacles you encounter are what propel you forward. Without struggles, you wouldn't develop the traits necessary to achieve your goals. Strength is forged in the fires of adversity, not in the comfort of ease. Think about the traits you admire in successful people: discipline, resilience, patience, and creativity. None of these qualities come naturally. They are earned through hard work and perseverance. A disciplined person has faced the temptation of distraction and overcome it. A resilient person has endured hardship and emerged stronger. A patient person has waited through setbacks without giving up. These traits are not gifts, they are the results of struggles. Consider the gym as a metaphor for life. To build muscle, you must lift heavier weights over time, pushing your body beyond its comfort zone. If you avoid the strain, your muscles never grow. The same principle applies to your mind, your character, and your abilities. Struggles are the resistance that forces you to grow. However, most people view struggles as signs of failure. They fear discomfort and avoid challenges, hoping for an easier path. This mindset not only limits growth, but also leads to a shallow, unfulfilled life. If you are not willing to endure the hard times, you'll never achieve the rewards on the other side. The key is to change your perspective on struggles. Instead of seeing them as setbacks, view them as opportunities. When you encounter a challenge, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this experience make me stronger? This shift in mindset transforms difficulties into stepping stones for success. It's also important to remember that struggles are temporary. No matter how dark a situation may seem, it will eventually pass. What remains is the person you become through the process. Each struggle leaves you better equipped to handle the next, creating a cycle of continuous growth. Embrace your struggles with a Stoic mindset. Accept that they are a natural part of life and that they serve a purpose. As Seneca said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." When you face adversity with courage and determination, you not only overcome the immediate challenge, but also build the foundation for long-term success. 35. You might not realize you're living in the golden years of your life until later. It's a painful truth that we often fail to appreciate the best moments of our lives while we're living them. How many times have you looked back on a chapter of your life, perhaps a time when things felt simple, even mundane, and realized those were, in fact, the golden years? The tragedy lies in our inability to recognize the beauty of the present until it becomes a distant memory. This phenomenon stems from our obsession with the future. We're constantly striving for the next milestone, convinced that happiness lies just around the corner. A better job, a bigger house, more money. These are the promises that keep us racing forward. Meanwhile, the present slips through our fingers unnoticed, like sand in an hourglass. Stoicism teaches us to embrace the present moment, to find contentment in what we have rather than what we lack. Marcus Aurelius said, "Do not dwell on the future. Instead, concentrate on what you can do now." This wisdom reminds us that life unfolds in the now, not in some imagined tomorrow. The golden years of your life aren't defined by wealth or status. They're defined by the people you love, the experiences you share, and the moments of quiet joy that often go unnoticed. It might be a dinner with friends, a walk in the park, or even a peaceful evening alone with your thoughts. These moments are precious, but their value often becomes clear only in hindsight. So how can you break this cycle of delayed gratitude? The answer lies in mindfulness, being fully present in your life as it happens. Start by paying attention to the small joys around you. Notice the warmth of the sun on your skin, the sound of laughter, or the taste of your favorite meal. These fleeting moments are the threads that weave the tapestry of your life. Another way to embrace the present is to reflect on what you'll miss when this chapter ends. Will you miss your morning coffee ritual, the chaos of raising young children, the camaraderie of your current job? By imagining a future without these moments, you can better appreciate them now. Remember, you don't have to wait for a major event to find meaning in your life. The golden years are often hidden in the ordinary, waiting for you to notice them. Don't let them pass you by in your rush to get somewhere else. Stop, breathe, and cherish the life you're living right now. 36. True presence transforms mundane experiences into meaningful moments. In our fast-paced world, true presence is a rarity. We're so busy juggling responsibilities, scrolling through notifications, and planning for the future that we often miss what's right in front of us. The mundane moments of life, sharing a meal, walking to work, or even washing dishes, pass by in a blur. Yet these seemingly insignificant moments hold the potential to become deeply meaningful if we approach them with presence. What does it mean to be truly present? It means giving your full attention to the task or person in front of you, without distraction or judgment. This concept is central to Stoicism, which emphasizes mindfulness and intentionality. As Seneca wrote, true happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future. When you are fully present, even the simplest activities can bring a sense of peace and fulfillment. Consider how much time you spend on autopilot. You might drive the same route every day, eat the same breakfast, or have the same conversations, all while your mind is elsewhere. These routines become background noise, devoid of meaning. But when you bring presence into these moments, they take on new life. Suddenly, the morning sunlight streaming through your window feels like a gift. The taste of your coffee becomes an experience, not a habit. Presence also transforms relationships. When you truly listen to someone without interrupting, planning your response or checking your phone, you create a connection that goes beyond words. The other person feels seen and valued, and the conversation becomes a meaningful exchange rather than a shallow interaction. So how can you cultivate true presence in your life? Start by eliminating distractions. Put your phone away during meals. Turn off notifications during conversations and create moments of silence in your day. These small changes help you focus on what's happening around you. Next, practice mindfulness. Pay attention to your senses, the sights, sounds, smells, and textures of the world around you. Engage fully with whatever you're doing, whether it's cooking, working, or spending time with loved ones. This practice anchors you in the present and helps you appreciate the richness of life. Finally, let go of the need for constant productivity. Not every moment has to be about achieving a goal. Sometimes simply being is enough. As the Stoics taught, the value of life is not measured in accomplishments, but in the depth of our experiences. True presence is a gift you give to yourself and to the people around you. It turns the mundane into the meaningful and helps you find joy in the ordinary. Don't wait for a special occasion to start living fully. The moment you're in right now is as special as any other, if you choose to be present for it. 37. Life has always been hard. Feeling lost or misunderstood isn't new. It's easy to look at the challenges you face and think they're unique to you. Maybe you feel lost in your career, misunderstood by your loved ones, or overwhelmed by the weight of your responsibilities. But here's a truth that grounds us all. Life has always been hard. From ancient times to the modern day, human beings have faced struggles that test their limits. Feeling lost or misunderstood isn't a new phenomenon. It's part of the shared human experience. Consider the stories of the great thinkers and leaders of history. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful rulers of the Roman Empire, wrote extensively about his struggles in Meditations. Despite his status, he grappled with feelings of isolation and the heavy burden of responsibility. His writings remind us that even the most successful people are not immune to the hardships of life. Feeling lost is a sign that you're searching for direction, which is a necessary part of growth. It's in the moments of confusion and uncertainty that you begin to ask the big questions. Who am I? What do I want? What's my purpose? These questions are not signs of weakness. They're opportunities for clarity and self-discovery. Stoic philosophy offers a way to navigate these feelings. Epictetus taught that while you can't control external events, you can control your perceptions and responses. When you feel lost or misunderstood, focus on what you can do to move forward. Instead of fixating on the unfairness of your circumstances, ask yourself what steps you can take to improve them. It's also important to remember that feeling misunderstood doesn't mean you're alone. Every person at some point struggles with the gap between how they see themselves and how others perceive them. The key is to stop seeking validation from the outside world and to ground yourself in your own values. As long as you are true to yourself, the opinions of others lose their power. Finally, take comfort in the fact that you're part of a continuum. The hardships you face are not new. They've been experienced by countless others before you. Their stories, their wisdom, and their resilience are proof that you too can endure and thrive. Life has always been hard, but that's what makes overcoming its challenges so rewarding. Your struggles are not the end of your story, they're the foundation of it. 38. The bar for success has never been lower with today's access to resources. In today's world, the bar for success has never been lower. With unprecedented access to information, tools, and opportunities, you're living in an era where the ability to succeed is more within reach than ever before. Yet, paradoxically, many people still fail to take meaningful action. Why? Because success doesn't hinge on the availability of resources. It hinges on your willingness to use them effectively. Let's take a moment to reflect on the past. Before the advent of the internet, pursuing education or starting a business required substantial effort and resources. Libraries were limited, mentorship was rare, and connecting with the right people often required geographical proximity. Today, you have access to more knowledge and tools in your pocket than most people in history had in a lifetime. Yet, this abundance can create a false sense of progress, leading many to mistake consumption for action. The bar for success is low because so many people don't even try. Most settle for mediocrity, allowing distractions, fear, and procrastination to dictate their lives. They scroll through endless feeds, watch motivational videos, or read self-help books, but they never take the crucial step of applying what they've learned. This lack of action ensures that even a modest effort can set you apart from the crowd. Stoic philosophy reminds us that excellence requires discipline. Marcus Aurelius advised, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." In other words, stop planning and start doing. The tools you need are already at your disposal. All that's required is the courage to act. To take advantage of today's low bar for success, start by setting clear goals. What do you want to achieve and why? Break your goals into actionable steps and commit to doing something every day that moves you closer to them. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be consistent. Next, focus on execution rather than perfection. The fear of failure often paralyzes people, but the truth is, most failures are minor and recoverable. What's far worse is the regret of never having tried. Remember, the bar is low. You don't need to be extraordinary. You just need to be consistent and persistent. Finally, embrace the opportunities that come with living in this era. Take online courses, connect with mentors, and use the tools available to you to build skills, grow your network, and create value. Success is no longer reserved for the privileged few. It's available to anyone willing to put in the work. The bar for success has never been lower, but the rewards remain as high as ever. Take advantage of this unprecedented moment in history. The tools are in your hands. The only question is whether you'll use them. 39. Consuming content without applying it creates a false sense of progress. In the age of endless information, it's easy to fall into the trap of consuming content and mistaking it for progress. You watch motivational videos, read self-help books, or scroll through insightful posts, feeling a rush of inspiration. But without application, all that knowledge is nothing more than mental clutter. The illusion of progress can be just as harmful as stagnation because it keeps you spinning your wheels without moving forward. Think about this. Have you ever felt productive after binge-watching educational content, only to realize days or weeks later that nothing in your life has actually changed? That's the false sense of progress at work. You've fed your mind, but starved your actions, leaving you stuck in the same place as before, albeit with a head full of unutilized ideas. Stoicism emphasizes the importance of action. Marcus Aurelius wrote, You could be good today, but instead you choose tomorrow. This wisdom highlights a common pitfall: postponing action under the guise of preparation. Consuming content is easy, it feels good, it's passive, and it gives you the illusion of effort. But true growth requires stepping into discomfort and applying what you've learned. Here's the hard truth: knowledge alone doesn't change your life. It's what you do with that knowledge that matters. Watching a video on building discipline won't make you disciplined unless you take steps to implement its lessons. Reading about financial independence won't grow your bank account unless you act on the strategies you've learned. The bridge between where you are and where you want to be is built with actions, not ideas. To break free from this cycle, approach content consumption with intention. When you encounter a valuable lesson, pause and ask yourself, how can I apply this to my life? Create a specific action plan and commit to following through. For example, if you read about improving productivity, start by implementing just one habit, such as blocking distractions or creating a to-do list. Progress doesn't require perfection, it requires momentum. Additionally, limit the amount of content you consume at any given time. Focus on depth over breadth. Instead of drowning in endless resources, select a few key lessons to implement and master before moving on. This approach ensures that what you consume has a tangible impact on your life. Remember, the goal is not to hoard knowledge, but to transform it into action. Don't let the false sense of progress lull you into complacency. Step out of the passive role of a consumer and become an active participant in your own growth. As the Stoics remind us, the measure of wisdom is not what you know, but how you live. 40. Sadness stems from a lack of perceived options which learning can solve. Sadness often feels like a heavy fog, obscuring your ability to see a way forward. At its core, sadness can stem from a lack of perceived options, a belief that your circumstances are fixed and that no paths exist to improve them. This belief traps you in a state of helplessness, making your world feel smaller and more constricted than it truly is. But here's the liberating truth: learning can dissolve this illusion. When you acquire new knowledge or skills, you expand your range of options and open doors you previously thought were locked. Education, whether formal or self-directed, empowers you to see possibilities where once there were none. Consider the Stoic principle that your perception shapes your reality. Epictetus taught, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When you feel trapped or hopeless, it's often because you've accepted a narrow perspective on your situation. Learning allows you to shift that perspective. Whether it's reading a book, taking a course, or seeking advice from a mentor, gaining knowledge reveals new strategies, solutions, and opportunities. For instance, if you're stuck in a job you dislike, you might feel that you have no choice but to endure it. But learning a new skill, coding, writing, or even public speaking, can create pathways to a different career. If you're struggling in a relationship, studying communication techniques or seeking therapy can help you resolve conflicts and build a stronger connection. The act of learning transforms your sense of agency, showing you that you're not as powerless as you once thought. Sadness thrives in the absence of hope, and hope is often born from the realization that you have options. Each piece of knowledge you gain is a tool to build a better reality. But here's the catch: learning only works if you're willing to apply it. As you acquire new insights, take small steps to integrate them into your life. The combination of action and education is what truly breaks the cycle of despair. It's also worth noting that not all sadness comes from external circumstances. Sometimes it's rooted in internal struggles like self-doubt or unprocessed emotions. In these cases, learning about mindfulness, self-compassion, or emotional resilience can help you navigate your inner world with greater clarity and strength. The next time you feel overwhelmed by sadness, ask yourself, what am I missing? What can I learn that might change my situation? Approach your challenges with curiosity rather than resignation. As you gather knowledge, you'll find that the fog begins to lift, revealing paths you hadn't considered before. In the end, sadness is not a permanent state. It's a signal that something needs to change. And the key to change is often as simple as learning something new. By embracing education as a tool for growth, you can transform your sadness into a stepping stone toward a brighter future. 41. Anxiety comes from too many options. Prioritizing simplifies decisions. In today's world, choices are abundant. From the dozens of items on a restaurant menu to endless career paths, hobbies, and personal goals, it seems we're constantly surrounded by decisions. While having options may feel empowering, too many can actually overwhelm the mind, creating anxiety and indecision. Psychologists call this choice overload, and it's a common source of modern-day stress. Imagine standing in front of a vast buffet table. At first, you're excited about all the possibilities, but as you start filling your plate, you realize you can't try everything. The fear of missing out on the best choice starts creeping in, leaving you paralyzed. This is what happens when you face too many options in life. The pressure to make the perfect decision creates a loop of overthinking and second-guessing. Stoicism offers a practical way to combat this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you seek tranquility, do less." While this may seem counterintuitive in a world that values multitasking and maximizing opportunities, the wisdom lies in focusing on what truly matters. By setting clear priorities, you eliminate the mental clutter that leads to anxiety. Start by identifying your core values. What is most important to you? Your health, family, career, or personal growth? Once you're clear on your priorities, use them as a compass to navigate decisions. For example, if your health is a top priority, it becomes easier to choose a nutritious meal over fast food or a workout over binge-watching TV. Simplifying your decisions based on your values reduces the mental strain of weighing every option equally. Another technique is to practice decisiveness. Often we delay making choices out of fear of making the wrong one, but indecision is its own form of stress. As Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." In other words, take action and trust that you can adjust your course later if needed. Even a suboptimal decision is better than no decision at all because it propels you forward. Limiting your options is another powerful strategy. Apply constraints to your choices, whether it's selecting only 3 goals to focus on for the year or committing to one project at a time. These self-imposed boundaries give you the mental space to fully engage with what you've chosen, rather than constantly wondering about the alternatives. Ultimately, anxiety from too many options is a symptom of trying to keep every door open. But life doesn't work that way. By prioritizing and simplifying, you free yourself from the tyranny of endless choice and create room for clarity and peace. 42. Patience requires meaningful action in the meantime. Patience is often misunderstood as passive waiting, an endurance test where you do nothing and hope for the best. But true patience isn't about sitting idly by. It's about finding meaningful actions to engage in while the outcome unfolds. As the Stoics teach, patience is an active virtue, not a passive one. Think of a farmer planting seeds. Once the seeds are in the ground, the farmer can't force them to grow faster. But this doesn't mean they sit idle. They water the soil, remove weeds, and ensure the environment is conducive to growth. Similarly, patience in your life means focusing on what you can do while letting go of what you can't control. Impatience often stems from wanting immediate results. You've worked hard on a project, but success feels distant. You've started a new fitness routine, but the scale hasn't budged. In these moments, the desire for quick gratification can lead to frustration and the temptation to give up. But meaningful progress takes time, and the best results come to those who are willing to wait while continuing to put in the effort. The Stoic philosopher Seneca reminds us, time discovers truth. This doesn't mean you should simply wait for time to reveal the answers, but rather that you should use time wisely. Instead of obsessing over the outcome, focus on small, actionable steps. If you're working toward a career goal, learn a new skill or expand your network. If you're recovering from a setback, use the time to reflect and grow stronger. Meaningful action not only keeps you occupied, but also ensures that when the opportunity arises, you'll be ready to seize it. Patience also requires a shift in mindset. Instead of viewing the waiting period as a barrier, see it as part of the journey. Every moment of preparation, learning, and effort contributes to the eventual outcome. This perspective turns frustration into fulfillment because you're no longer fixated solely on the end goal. To cultivate patience, start by setting realistic expectations. Understand that worthwhile achievements rarely happen overnight. Break your goals into smaller milestones and celebrate each step forward. This keeps your motivation high and reminds you that progress is being made, even if the ultimate result takes time. Lastly, embrace the idea that some things are beyond your control. As Epictetus wisely said, it is not events that disturb people, but their judgments about them. When you release the need to control every aspect of the process, patience becomes easier. Focus on what you can do today and trust that the rest will fall into place. True patience isn't passive waiting, it's active engagement. By finding meaningful actions to take in the meantime, you transform the waiting period from a source of anxiety into an opportunity for growth and preparation. Patience, when practiced this way, becomes a superpower that not only helps you endure, but also thrive. 43. Sticking to. Even a mediocre plan is harder and more effective than seeking perfection. The pursuit of perfection is seductive. It promises an ideal outcome, a flawless execution, and the admiration of others. But in reality, perfection is often a trap, a mirage that keeps you from making progress. Ironically, sticking to even a mediocre plan consistently will outperform the endless quest for a perfect strategy. Think of perfectionism as a mountain climber who refuses to ascend until the weather conditions are ideal. The gear is flawless, and every possible scenario has been accounted for. While they wait, another climber with average gear and determination starts their journey. The latter might face challenges, but they're moving forward, while the perfectionist remains paralyzed at the base. The Stoics teach us the value of action over deliberation. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This means the key to progress isn't in perfect conditions or plans, but in taking consistent action despite imperfections. Why is sticking to a plan so challenging? Because the allure of new and seemingly better options constantly tempts us. This phenomenon, known as shiny object syndrome, diverts your focus and leaves you perpetually starting over. Consistency, on the other hand, demands discipline, a virtue the Stoics held in high regard. Here's the reality. Mediocre plans often yield remarkable results because they're executed consistently. A subpar workout routine followed daily will produce better fitness results than an elaborate plan abandoned after a week. Writing 500 words a day, even if they're not perfect, will complete a book faster than endlessly tweaking the outline. Progress isn't about brilliance, it's about persistence. How can you embrace consistency over perfection? First, set achievable goals. Break larger objectives into smaller, actionable steps. For instance, if you're learning a new skill, focus on practicing for 30 minutes a day instead of mastering everything at once. This incremental approach builds momentum and reinforces the habit of action. Second, accept imperfection. Understand that mistakes and setbacks are part of the process. The Stoics remind us that life is unpredictable and imperfect. Epictetus advised, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." Let go of the need to control every outcome and focus on executing your plan. Finally, track your progress. Keeping a record of your actions not only motivates you, but also provides tangible evidence of your commitment. Each completed task, no matter how small, is a step closer to your goal. The truth is, seeking perfection is easy because it allows you to avoid failure. Sticking to a plan, even a mediocre one, is hard because it exposes you to criticism, mistakes, and challenges. But it's this very difficulty that makes it effective. Success doesn't come from flawless execution. It comes from showing up day after day and doing the work. 44. Confidence is built through consistent evidence of your capabilities. Confidence often seems like a mysterious quality, possessed by some and elusive to others. But in reality, confidence isn't a gift. It's a skill, built through repeated evidence that you are capable of overcoming challenges and achieving your goals. It's not about bravado or fake-it-till-you-make-it attitudes. True confidence is rooted in proof. Imagine a craftsman building a chair. With each nail hammered in and each joint secured, they gain confidence in their ability to create something sturdy and reliable. Now contrast this with someone who reads about chair making but never picks up a hammer. The latter might understand the theory, but lacks the confidence that comes from experience. Confidence is forged in the doing, not the knowing. The Stoics understood this well. Seneca wrote, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult." Confidence begins with daring to act, even when you feel uncertain or unprepared. Each small victory reinforces your belief in your abilities. One of the biggest misconceptions about confidence is that it comes first, that you need to feel confident before taking action. In truth, confidence is the result, not the precursor, of action. For example, if you fear public speaking, No amount of visualization will replace the confidence gained from actually delivering a speech, even if it's imperfect. The act of facing your fear and surviving it builds the internal evidence you need to believe in yourself. Consistency is key. Confidence isn't built from one grand achievement, but from a series of small, repeated efforts. If you're learning to play an instrument, practicing daily, even for a short time, builds competence, and competence breeds confidence. This principle applies universally, whether in your career, relationships, or personal growth. How can you build confidence systematically? Start by setting small, attainable goals. If you're intimidated by a big project, break it into manageable tasks. Completing these tasks creates a feedback loop. Action leads to results, and results reinforce your confidence. Over time, these small wins compound into an unshakable belief in your capabilities. Next, embrace discomfort. Confidence grows in the presence of challenge. The Stoics often subjected themselves to voluntary discomfort, such as fasting or wearing simple clothing, to strengthen their resilience. Similarly, stepping outside your comfort zone regularly conditions you to handle uncertainty and adversity with poise. Finally, reflect on your progress. Keep a journal of your accomplishments, no matter how minor they seem. This creates a tangible record of your growth and serves as a reminder of your abilities during moments of doubt. As Epictetus said, "Know, first, who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly." Confidence isn't about perfection or never making mistakes. It's about proving to yourself through consistent effort that you are capable of rising to the occasion. Each time you take action, you strengthen the foundation of your self-belief. Over time, this foundation becomes so solid that no challenge or setback can shake it. Confidence isn't given, it's earned, one step at a time. 45. Sympathy from others won't solve your struggles. Action will. Sympathy is comforting. When life feels overwhelming, it's natural to want someone to validate your pain and offer support. But while sympathy may provide a temporary sense of relief, it does nothing to solve the root of your struggles. The hard truth is that no amount of external empathy can replace the internal effort required to change your circumstances. Imagine a hiker stuck in a ditch. Onlookers might gather to express concern, share their own experiences of similar ditches, or even sympathize with how unfair the situation is. But at the end of the day, the hiker must climb out on their own. Sympathy might ease the emotional weight for a moment, but it won't lift them out of the hole. The Stoics teach us to focus on what is within our control. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Sympathy is an external event, something outside your control. Action, however, is entirely within your grasp. The key to overcoming struggles lies not in how many people understand your pain, but in how effectively you address it. Relying too heavily on sympathy can become a trap. It encourages a passive mindset, where you wait for external validation rather than taking initiative. Over time, this dependency can erode your sense of agency and make you feel powerless. True growth requires stepping beyond the comfort of sympathy and embracing the discomfort of action. How do you shift from seeking sympathy to taking action? Start by reframing challenges as opportunities for growth. If you're facing financial struggles, for example, focus less on how unfair the system is and more on what steps you can take to improve your situation, whether it's budgeting, learning a new skill, or seeking additional income sources. Each small step builds momentum. Next, take responsibility for your circumstances. This doesn't mean blaming yourself for everything that goes wrong, but rather acknowledging your role in shaping your life. The Stoics remind us that our responses, not our circumstances, define us. As Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Finally, surround yourself with people who challenge you to act, rather than merely commiserate. True support doesn't come from those who pity you, but from those who encourage and inspire you to rise above your struggles. Sympathy may soothe the soul, but it doesn't solve problems. Action, on the other hand, empowers you to change your reality. When you stop seeking validation and start taking control, you transform from a passive participant in life to an active creator of your destiny. The climb out of the ditch may be hard, but it's the only way to truly move forward. 46. Blaming external factors keeps you stuck in a victim mindset. It's easy to blame external factors for your struggles. A bad boss, an unfair system, a toxic relationship. These are convenient targets for your frustration. But while these factors may contribute to your difficulties, blaming them keeps you trapped in a victim mindset, unable to move forward. Picture a ship in rough waters. The sailor who blames the storm will stay stuck, cursing the waves. The sailor who takes responsibility for steering the ship will find a way to navigate to safety. The storm may not be their fault, but the decision to act, or not, is entirely within their control. The Stoics believed in radical self-responsibility. Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." This reflects the idea that our internal perspective, not external circumstances, determines our experience. When you blame outside forces, you surrender your power to change your situation. The victim mindset is seductive because it absolves you of accountability. If your failures are always someone else's fault, you don't have to face the uncomfortable truth that change requires effort. But this mindset also chains you to your circumstances, leaving you powerless to improve them. To break free, start by identifying areas where you've shifted blame. Are you unhappy at work? Instead of blaming your boss, consider what steps you can take, like improving your skills, seeking a new job, or setting boundaries. Are you struggling with health issues? Instead of blaming genetics or time constraints, focus on small, actionable changes like better nutrition or exercise. Next, adopt a mindset of ownership. Acknowledge that while you can't control everything, you have the power to control how you respond. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. This mindset doesn't deny external challenges, but empowers you to rise above them. Finally, practice gratitude. Focusing on what you have rather than what you lack shifts your perspective from victimhood to empowerment. It helps you see challenges as opportunities to grow rather than obstacles to lament. Blaming external factors may feel justified in the moment, but it ultimately keeps you stuck. When you take responsibility for your life, you reclaim your power. The waves may be rough, but with the right mindset, you can steer your ship toward calmer waters. As the Stoics remind us, the path to freedom lies in taking full ownership of our lives. 47. Hard work is non-negotiable for meaningful success. Success is often romanticized as a product of talent, luck, or opportunity, but the truth is far simpler and harder to swallow. Hard work is non-negotiable. No shortcuts, no hacks, no secrets. Meaningful success demands consistent effort, discipline, and resilience, even when results seem distant or progress feels slow. Consider the greats in any field: athletes, artists, entrepreneurs. Behind every achievement lies countless hours of practice, failures, and sacrifice. Michael Jordan didn't become a basketball legend by talent alone. His relentless work ethic set him apart. He famously said, "I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." Hard work isn't a choice, it's a prerequisite. The Stoics understood this principle well. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily to embrace challenges, saying, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. The path to greatness is paved with obstacles, but it's through overcoming them that we grow stronger." Yet, modern culture often glorifies instant success. Social media showcases highlight reels, not the grind behind the scenes. It's easy to envy the entrepreneur with a thriving business, the musician topping the charts, or the fitness influencer with the perfect body. What you don't see are the sleepless nights, rejections, and relentless efforts that built those results. Without hard work, their achievements wouldn't exist. Hard work also builds character. It teaches discipline, patience, and resilience, qualities that extend beyond any single goal. A student who pours effort into mastering a subject doesn't just gain knowledge. They develop the ability to learn and persist. A writer who struggles through countless drafts becomes not just a better writer, but a more determined person. But hard work isn't glamorous. It's repetitive, exhausting, and often thankless. There will be moments when you question whether it's worth it, when the gap between effort and reward feels insurmountable. That's where most people stop, and that's why meaningful success remains elusive for so many. The solution is to reframe your relationship with hard work. Instead of viewing it as a burden, see it as an opportunity to grow. Celebrate small wins along the way, and remember that every step forward, no matter how small, contributes to the bigger picture. As Epictetus said, "No great thing is created suddenly, any more than a bunch of grapes or a fig." If you tell me that you desire a fig, I answer you that there must be time. Let it first blossom, then bear fruit, then ripen. In the end, hard work isn't just about achieving a goal. It's about becoming the kind of person who earns success, who faces challenges head-on, and who understands that the journey is as valuable as the destination. There are no shortcuts, and there's no substitute. Hard work is non-negotiable. 48. Your work shapes you more than the results it produces. It's natural to focus on results, raises, accolades, milestones. After all, they're the tangible markers of success. But while results are fleeting, the work itself has a deeper impact. It shapes who you are. The process, not the outcome, is where real transformation happens. Imagine a sculptor working on a block of marble. The finished piece may draw admiration, but it's the act of sculpting, the chiseling, refining, and reimagining that shapes the artist. The same is true in life. Your daily grind, the way you tackle challenges, and your willingness to persevere through setbacks mold your character far more than the end result ever could. The Stoics emphasize the importance of focusing on effort over outcomes. Epictetus said, "Do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to. Rather, Wish that what happens happen the way it happens. Then you will be happy. This perspective shifts attention from what you can't control, the results, to what you can control, your actions and attitude. Consider the entrepreneur who spends years building a business. The financial success, while rewarding, is secondary to the skills, knowledge, and resilience they've gained along the way. If the business fails tomorrow, those lessons remain, preparing them for future endeavors. Similarly, a student who works tirelessly to understand a difficult subject may forget the details years later, but the discipline and problem-solving abilities they developed will serve them for life. Results can also be deceptive. They may come quickly, masking a lack of real growth, or they may be delayed, making progress seem invisible. This is why focusing solely on outcomes can be dangerous. It ties your self-worth to external validation. When results don't align with expectations, it's easy to feel like a failure, even if the effort you put in was transformative. To appreciate the value of the work itself, practice mindfulness during the process. Whether you're training for a marathon, learning a new skill, or pursuing a creative project, pay attention to how the work challenges and changes you. Reflect on what you're learning, how you're growing, and how your perseverance is shaping your character. Reframing your perspective on work also protects you from the emptiness that often follows achieving a goal. Many people feel a sense of letdown after reaching a milestone because they've tied their fulfillment solely to the result. But when you value the process, every step becomes meaningful, and success is no longer a fleeting moment, but a continuous journey. Ultimately, your work is more than a means to an end. It's a tool for self-discovery and growth, a crucible where your best qualities are forged. The results may come and go, but the person you become through the work will stay with you forever. 47. Hard work is non-negotiable for meaningful success. Hard work is the foundation of all meaningful success. It's not a luxury or an optional step, it's a necessity. In a world that often glorifies talent and luck, the reality is that sustained effort is what separates those who achieve their dreams from those who don't. Hard work is the great equalizer. It levels the playing field and rewards those who commit themselves fully. Think of any successful individual. Behind the accolades and achievements lies a story of relentless dedication. Consider Thomas Edison, who famously said, "Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration." Edison didn't stumble upon the light bulb in a moment of brilliance. He conducted thousands of experiments before finding success. Each failure taught him something, and every setback strengthened his resolve. Hard work isn't glamorous. It's often repetitive, exhausting, and solitary. But it's during these moments of grind that the seeds of greatness are planted. The process of working hard shapes your discipline, builds your resilience, and strengthens your character. It's not just about achieving a goal, it's about who you become along the way. In modern society, there's a temptation to seek shortcuts. From get-rich-quick schemes to instant gratification, many people want the reward without the effort. But true success doesn't work that way. It requires sacrifices, sacrificing comfort, leisure, and even relationships at times. It means waking up early, staying late, and giving your best effort even when you don't feel like it. The Stoics understood this principle deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Hard work is about mastering your mind and pushing through discomfort to reach new levels of growth. It's about showing up every day, even when progress feels slow or invisible. Hard work also teaches you patience. In a world of instant results, the ability to persist over the long term is a rare and valuable trait. Success isn't about dramatic leaps. It's about consistent steps forward. Every hour you invest compounds over time, creating a momentum that eventually becomes unstoppable. When you embrace hard work, you gain more than just success. You gain self-respect. Knowing that you've earned your achievements through effort gives you a sense of pride that no shortcut can replicate. It builds confidence, not from external validation, but from the knowledge that you have what it takes to overcome challenges. At its core, hard work is a declaration of commitment to your goals. It says, "I'm willing to do what it takes, no matter how difficult." It's not always easy, and it's rarely fun in the moment, but it's always worth it. Success built on hard work is solid, enduring, and deeply fulfilling. 48. Your work shapes you more than the results it produces. In the pursuit of success, it's natural to focus on results. After all, results are measurable. They're the promotions, awards, and milestones that mark progress. But while results are important, the work you do to achieve them has a far greater impact. Your work shapes your character, your mindset, and your abilities in ways that no result ever can. Imagine you're climbing a mountain. The summit may be the ultimate goal, but it's the climb that transforms you. The struggles, the perseverance, and the lessons learned along the way build your strength and resilience. If someone airlifted you to the top, you might enjoy the view, but you'd miss out on the growth that comes from the journey. This idea is central to Stoic philosophy. Epictetus taught that the process of striving, failing, and learning is what truly builds character. He said, "No great thing is created suddenly. The effort you put into your work, regardless of the outcome, is what shapes you into the person capable of achieving greatness." Consider an athlete training for a competition. Whether they win or lose on race day, the hours of practice, discipline, and dedication leave a lasting impact. They emerge stronger, not just physically but mentally. Even if the trophy slips out of reach, the transformation within them remains. This perspective is crucial in a world obsessed with outcomes. People often tie their self-worth to achievements, believing that success will bring happiness or validation. But when you focus solely on results, you risk missing the deeper value of the process. Results are fleeting. They can be taken away, forgotten, or overshadowed. The skills and growth you gain through hard work, however, stay with you for life. Embracing the process also protects you from the emptiness that can follow success. Many people achieve their goals only to find themselves asking, "What now?" When you value the journey over the destination, every step becomes meaningful, and you avoid the disillusionment that often comes with achieving a long-sought goal. To make the most of your work, focus on who you're becoming through the effort. Are you more disciplined, more knowledgeable, more resilient? Celebrate these intangible wins, even if the tangible results take time to materialize. As Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Shifting your focus from results to growth is a powerful mindset shift. Ultimately, the work you do shapes your character far more than the outcome ever will. It's in the grind, the struggle, and the perseverance that you become the person capable of achieving great things. Results are a byproduct of the effort, but the transformation that happens during the process is the real reward. 49. Progress requires immediate action. Waiting for perfect conditions is procrastination. One of the most common traps in life is waiting for the perfect moment to take action. It's an alluring excuse, a way to delay while convincing yourself that you're simply being prudent. But here's the hard truth. Perfection doesn't exist, and waiting for it is just another form of procrastination. Progress requires immediate action, even if conditions are far from ideal. Picture a farmer waiting for the perfect weather to plant their seeds. While they hesitate, the seasons pass, and the opportunity to grow crops disappears. Life is no different. Every moment spent waiting is a moment lost, and those moments add up to missed opportunities, wasted potential, and unfulfilled dreams. Stoic philosophy emphasizes the importance of taking action in the present moment. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This means that while external circumstances may never align perfectly, you always have the power to act. Waiting for the right conditions is often a way to avoid facing fear, uncertainty, or the possibility of failure. Action has a way of clarifying things. Even if your first steps are imperfect, they create momentum and provide feedback that helps you improve. You learn by doing, not by endlessly planning, researching, or imagining. Many successful entrepreneurs, artists, and innovators didn't wait until everything was just right to start. They began with what they had and refined along the way. Consider Thomas Edison, who famously tested thousands of materials before creating a functional light bulb. If he had waited for the perfect material or ideal conditions to present themselves, we might still be lighting candles today. Progress isn't about flawless execution. It's about persistence, iteration, and the willingness to begin, even when you feel unprepared. Perfectionism is often a mask for fear. People delay because they're afraid of failing, being judged, or not measuring up. But failure is a necessary part of success. Every stumble teaches you something, and every misstep brings you closer to your goal. As the saying goes, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Taking immediate action doesn't mean recklessness. It means starting with what you can, where you are, and adjusting as you go. It's about overcoming the inertia of inaction and trusting that the path will become clear as you move forward. Each step, no matter how small, brings you closer to your destination. The Stoics also teach us to focus on what is within our control. You may not be able to control the circumstances around you, but you can control your decision to act. By taking responsibility for your progress, you shift from being a passive observer of your life to an active participant. Waiting for perfection is a luxury you can't afford. Time is the one resource you'll never get back. Every day you delay is a day lost. So take that first step, no matter how small or uncertain. The conditions will never be perfect, but the decision to act is always within your power. 50. Cynicism might protect you from disappointment but won't lead to success. Cynicism can feel like armor, shielding you from disappointment and pain. By expecting the worst, you think you're preparing yourself for it. But this protective mechanism comes at a cost. While cynicism may guard you from the sting of failure, it also locks you out of opportunities, growth, and the possibility of success. At its core, cynicism is a fear-based mindset. It's easier to dismiss ambition, hope, or effort as futile than to risk being let down. Cynics often pride themselves on being realists, but their realism is often just pessimism in disguise. They focus on what could go wrong, ignoring what might go right. And in doing so, they create a self-fulfilling prophecy. By not trying, they ensure failure. The Stoics understood the danger of this mindset. Epictetus taught that our perceptions shape our reality. It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Cynicism skews your reactions, making you see obstacles where others see opportunities. It robs you of the courage to act and the resilience to persist. Imagine a runner who never enters a race because they're convinced they'll lose. Their cynicism might save them from the embarrassment of coming in last, but it also denies them the chance to improve, to compete, and to grow. Worse, it keeps them stuck in a cycle of inaction, where their fears become their reality. Cynicism also limits your relationships. If you assume people are out to take advantage of you, you'll never trust or connect deeply. If you expect the world to be cruel and unkind, you'll close yourself off from its beauty and generosity. Success often requires collaboration, mentorship, and support, things cynicism actively works against. That's not to say you should be blindly optimistic. Naivety can lead to poor decisions and unnecessary risks. But there's a middle ground, informed optimism. This means approaching life with hope and effort, tempered by awareness and preparation. It's the belief that while challenges and failures are inevitable, they're also surmountable. Cynicism often masquerades as wisdom, but true wisdom lies in the balance of hope and pragmatism. It's the ability to see the world clearly, the good and the bad, and still choose to engage with it. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Challenges are not reasons to withdraw, they're opportunities to grow. Overcoming cynicism starts with a mindset shift. Instead of focusing on why something won't work, ask yourself, what if it does? Instead of assuming the worst in people, give them the benefit of the doubt. Instead of expecting failure, prepare for success. This doesn't mean ignoring risks, but approaching them with a proactive and hopeful attitude. Cynicism may protect you from temporary disappointment, but it also shields you from the joys and triumphs of life. To achieve anything meaningful, you must be willing to risk failure, rejection, and heartbreak. Success requires vulnerability, effort, and the courage to believe in possibilities. Shed the armor of cynicism, it's heavier than you think, and step into the light of hope and action. 51. Judge yourself by actions, not intentions. We all like to think of ourselves as good people with noble intentions, but here's the uncomfortable truth. Your intentions mean little without corresponding action. You are not what you plan to do, hope to achieve, or dream about becoming. You are what you consistently do. Stoicism places a heavy emphasis on action. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." It's not enough to have lofty ideals or good intentions. What matters is how those ideals manifest in the real world through your actions. Consider someone who constantly talks about starting a business, helping others, or getting in shape, but never takes the first step. They may feel good about their intentions, but the world doesn't change because of thoughts alone. Without action, those intentions remain fantasies, comforting but ultimately meaningless. Judging yourself by your actions forces you to confront reality. It's a mirror that reflects your true priorities. If you say your health is important, but spend your evenings eating junk food and watching TV, your actions reveal what you truly value: comfort over discipline. If you claim to value honesty but consistently avoid difficult conversations, your behavior exposes a gap between your words and deeds. This principle also fosters personal accountability. When you judge yourself by your actions, you take responsibility for your life. There's no room for excuses like "I meant to" or "I was going to." What matters is what you actually did. This shift in mindset is both humbling and empowering. It removes the safety net of good intentions and challenges you to live with integrity. Stoicism teaches that virtue lies in action. Courage, for example, isn't the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite it. Similarly, wisdom isn't about knowing what's right, but about applying that knowledge in your daily life. The virtues you admire mean nothing unless you practice them. Judging yourself by actions rather than intentions also builds trust with others. People respect those who follow through on their commitments, not those who simply talk about them. Your actions demonstrate your character far more effectively than your words ever could. The good news is that actions compound over time. Even small, consistent efforts can lead to significant results. If you want to be healthier, start by taking a daily walk. If you want to be kinder, make a habit of expressing gratitude. Over time, these actions will shape your identity and align with the person you aspire to be. Finally, this principle helps you cut through self-deception. It's easy to convince yourself that you're trying your best when you're not. By focusing on measurable actions, you eliminate the gap between who you think you are and who you actually are. It's a challenging but necessary step toward growth. In the end, you're defined by what you do, not what you intend to do. Let your actions speak louder than your thoughts. As the Stoics would say, don't strive to appear virtuous, strive to be virtuous. 52. Refusing to play by others' rules can be an act of self-respect. Life is full of unwritten rules imposed by society, family, or peer groups. These rules often dictate what success looks like, how you should behave, and what you should prioritize. But here's a liberating truth. You don't have to play by rules that don't align with your values. Refusing to conform can be an act of profound self-respect. It's a declaration that your life is yours to live, not a performance for others. This doesn't mean being reckless or selfish. It means prioritizing authenticity over compliance. The Stoics were masters of this mindset. Epictetus taught, "Know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly." In other words, understand your values and principles and let them guide your actions, rather than blindly following societal expectations. Consider the person who feels pressured to follow a traditional career path because it's what their family expects. They may climb the corporate ladder and achieve outward success, but feel unfulfilled because they ignored their true passions. By playing someone else's game, they've sacrificed their authenticity. Refusing to play by others' rules doesn't mean rejecting all norms or being contrarian for its own sake. It means critically examining the expectations placed on you and deciding whether they serve your values and goals. If they don't, you have the right to walk away. This act of defiance can be uncomfortable. It may invite criticism, judgment, or even ostracism. But the alternative, living a life that isn't truly yours, is far more painful in the long run. Conforming to others' expectations might bring temporary approval, but it often leads to resentment and regret. Breaking free from societal rules requires courage and clarity. It starts with self-awareness. What do you truly value? What kind of life do you want to create? Once you answer these questions, you can begin to set your own rules and live in alignment with your principles. This isn't about rebelling against everything or rejecting structure altogether. Rules can be valuable when they align with your goals. The key is to differentiate between rules that empower you and rules that constrain you. For example, following a disciplined routine is a rule that can lead to growth, while adhering to superficial societal standards might stifle your authenticity. The Stoics remind us to focus on what we can control. You can't control others' expectations or opinions, but you can control your response to them. By refusing to play by rules that don't serve you, you take ownership of your life. You become the author of your story, not a character following someone else's script. Refusing to conform is not about rejecting others. It's about honoring yourself. It's an act of self-respect that paves the way for a life of authenticity, fulfillment, and purpose. So the next time you feel pressured to play by rules that don't align with your values, remember, your life is yours to live. Choose your own path and walk it with confidence. 53. You'll regret actions driven by external validation more than those aligned with your values. We live in a world saturated with opinions, likes, and applause. The allure of external validation can be intoxicating. It feels good to be recognized, praised, or admired. But here's the harsh reality. Living for the approval of others often leads to decisions you'll regret far more than those made in alignment with your values. Imagine spending years pursuing a career not because it fulfills you, but because it impresses others. Or buying an expensive car, not because you need it, but because it projects an image of success. At first, these decisions might bring a fleeting sense of pride, but they're hollow victories. When the applause fades, you're left questioning why you sacrificed your authenticity for temporary validation. Stoic philosophy warns against seeking fulfillment outside yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." This tendency to prioritize others' perceptions over our inner truth is a recipe for regret. Why? Because external validation is fickle. What earns applause today might be forgotten or criticized tomorrow. Chasing it forces you to live on a treadmill of approval, constantly seeking the next thing that will impress others. This cycle not only exhausts you, but also distances you from your true self. When your actions are rooted in your values, however, you create a life that feels authentic and fulfilling. Even if others don't approve, you can take pride in knowing that you stayed true to yourself. You're no longer chasing an elusive standard set by others. You're living according to principles that matter to you. Choosing this path isn't easy. It requires deep self-awareness and the courage to disappoint others. People might question your decisions or try to sway you back to conformity. But as the Stoics teach, it's better to endure temporary discomfort than to compromise your integrity. Regret is a powerful teacher. Studies show that people often regret what they didn't do more than what they did. Similarly, they regret actions driven by external pressures more than those aligned with their values. Why? Because even if you fail while staying true to yourself, The experience contributes to your growth and sense of self. But if you succeed by betraying your values, the victory feels hollow. The antidote is to regularly evaluate your motivations. Ask yourself, am I doing this because it aligns with my goals and values, or because I want to impress someone else? This simple reflection can help you course correct before you make decisions you'll regret. Living for external validation robs you of authenticity and fulfillment. The applause is fleeting, but the cost of compromising your values is lasting. The next time you're tempted to act for the sake of approval, remember, it's better to live a life that feels true to you than one that simply looks good to others. True freedom lies in making choices that honor your inner truth. 54. Success isn't guaranteed, and the uncertainty makes the journey worthwhile. The idea of guaranteed success is appealing. Who wouldn't want to know that every effort they make will lead to a favorable outcome? But here's the truth: success is never guaranteed, and that's precisely what makes the journey meaningful. If every goal came with certainty, life would lose its thrill. The excitement of a challenge lies in the possibility of failure. The uncertainty forces you to grow, adapt, and push beyond your limits. It's what turns ordinary pursuits into extraordinary adventures. Consider climbing a mountain. If you knew there was no chance of slipping, getting lost, or facing adversity, the climb would feel monotonous. The risk, the unknown, and the struggle make reaching the summit an achievement worth savoring. Success feels valuable precisely because it's not handed to you, it's earned. The Stoics understood this well. They embraced the unpredictability of life, seeing it as a test of character. Seneca wrote, "The whole future lies in uncertainty. Live immediately." Rather than fearing the unknown, they focused on what they could control: their effort, mindset, and resilience. Uncertainty also teaches humility. When success isn't guaranteed, you're forced to confront your limitations and learn from setbacks. This process builds character in a way that guaranteed outcomes never could. It's through failure and adaptation that you discover your true potential. Moreover, uncertainty keeps you grounded in the present. When the future is unpredictable, you're compelled to focus on the here and now. Instead of obsessing over the outcome, you channel your energy into doing your best with what's in front of you. This presence not only improves your performance, but also makes the journey more enjoyable. But uncertainty can also paralyze you if you let it. Many people avoid taking risks because they're afraid of failing. They choose comfort over growth, preferring the safety of inaction to the vulnerability of trying. Ironically, this avoidance often leads to regret. As the Stoics teach, the fear of failure is often worse than failure itself. To embrace uncertainty, shift your focus from the outcome to the process. Measure success not by whether you achieve your goal, but by the effort and growth you invest along the way. When you prioritize the journey, you find meaning and fulfillment regardless of the result. Uncertainty is a gift. It pushes you to be courageous, resourceful, and adaptable. It adds depth to your achievements and teaches you to appreciate the process. So instead of fearing what you can't predict, welcome it. As Marcus Aurelius advised, love the hand that fate deals you and play it as your own. Success isn't guaranteed, but that's what makes it worth pursuing. The uncertainty sharpens your character, fuels your growth, and reminds you to savor every step of the journey. Embrace it, and you'll find that the pursuit of success is just as rewarding as the achievement itself. 55. Complaining about unearned results is futile. In life, it's easy to fall into the trap of lamenting over outcomes we didn't achieve. Why didn't I get that promotion? Or why is success so elusive for me? These complaints often come with an underlying truth. The effort to earn those results was never fully made. Complaining about unearned results is not only futile, it's a waste of energy that could be redirected toward creating the success you desire. The Stoics were clear on this point. Life owes you nothing. Epictetus said, "Do not hope that events will turn out the way you want. Welcome events in whichever way they happen. This is the path to peace." Expecting rewards without effort is the antithesis of this philosophy. The universe doesn't reward mere wishes. It rewards consistent action. Think about it. Complaining doesn't change the situation. It doesn't make the result any more attainable, nor does it undo past choices. Instead, it fosters a victim mindset, convincing you that external circumstances are to blame for your dissatisfaction. This mindset strips you of the power to take ownership of your life and change your trajectory. When you catch yourself complaining, it's worth asking a hard question. Did I truly do everything in my power to achieve this result? Most often, the answer reveals opportunities for growth. Perhaps you lacked discipline, didn't prioritize effectively, or avoided stepping out of your comfort zone. These are the real barriers, not some external conspiracy against your success. Moreover, complaining can alienate you from others. People are naturally drawn to those who take responsibility and inspire action, not those who wallow in self-pity. By focusing on what you can control, you model resilience and determination, qualities that earn respect and open doors. The antidote to complaining is accountability. Take stock of where you are, accept the role your actions or inactions played, and commit to doing better. If you didn't earn the result you wanted, figure out why and adjust your strategy. Whether it's working harder, acquiring new skills, or seeking help, there's always a path forward. Complaining about unearned results is like trying to squeeze water from a stone. It's a futile exercise. Instead, shift your focus to what you can do right now to create the outcomes you desire. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Success isn't given, it's earned, and when you earn it, the satisfaction is far greater than anything handed to you. Stop complaining, start acting, and watch how your results begin to change. 56. Freedom is wasted if you don't use it to improve your life. Freedom is one of the most powerful gifts a person can have, yet it's astonishing how many people squander it. They remain stuck in routines, bound by fears, or distracted by trivialities, all while failing to use their freedom to improve their lives. The tragedy of wasted freedom lies in its potential that, when unrealized, leads to regret. The Stoics deeply valued the concept of freedom, but not in the way many people interpret it today. True freedom, they believed, comes from mastery over oneself, not external circumstances. Epictetus famously stated, "Is freedom anything else than the right to live as we wish? Nothing else." But he also warned that to live as we wish, we must first discipline our minds and actions. Consider the freedom you already possess. You have the ability to choose how you spend your time, the direction of your goals, and the people you surround yourself with. Yet, many people let these choices slip by unexamined. They spend hours scrolling through social media, procrastinating on meaningful work, or chasing temporary pleasures that provide no lasting fulfillment. This isn't freedom, it's captivity to distractions and inertia. Freedom is only meaningful when paired with intention. If you're not actively using your freedom to grow, learn and contribute, it becomes a hollow privilege. Imagine being given a blank canvas and the finest paints, only to let them gather dust while you complain about the lack of a masterpiece. The tools are there, but the masterpiece requires your effort. Using freedom to improve your life doesn't mean making grand, sweeping changes overnight. It's about consistent, deliberate choices. Choosing to read a book instead of watching another episode of a show. Choosing to invest in your health rather than indulging in comfort foods. Choosing to confront a fear rather than avoiding it. These small acts compound over time, creating a life of meaning and progress. But freedom also comes with responsibility. If you don't take ownership of your choices, someone else will. Whether it's societal expectations, peer pressure, or marketing tactics, there's always something ready to dictate your actions if you let it. True freedom requires you to stand guard over your own life, ensuring your choices align with your values and aspirations. Don't let freedom slip through your fingers. Use it to craft the life you envision, to become the person you aspire to be. As Marcus Aurelius advised, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. This reminder isn't about fear. It's about urgency. Freedom is fleeting, and the time to use it is now. The world is full of people who wish for the freedom you already have. Honor it by making it count. Pursue growth, embrace challenges, and live with intention. That's how you turn freedom into a life worth living. 57. Relationships will change as you grow, leaving only those aligned with your journey. Growth is a natural part of life, but with it comes an uncomfortable truth. Not everyone will grow with you. Relationships, whether with friends, family, or colleagues, often shift as you evolve. People who once felt like kindred spirits may no longer align with your values, goals, or mindset. While this can be painful, it's also necessary for your journey. As you pursue personal growth, you'll notice a divide between those who support your transformation and those who resist it. This isn't because they're inherently bad people. It's often a reflection of their own fears or discomfort with change. Your progress can serve as a mirror, highlighting what others have avoided addressing in their own lives. This is why growing often feels isolating. It forces you to leave behind the comfort of familiar connections that no longer serve you. Stoic philosophy teaches us to accept what we cannot control and to focus on what aligns with our higher purpose. Epictetus said, "The key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best." If a relationship stifles your growth or constantly drags you into negativity, it may be time to let it go. This doesn't mean you need to cut people off abruptly or harbor resentment. Growth can happen with grace. Communicate openly and compassionately, but also recognize when a relationship has reached its natural conclusion. Letting go isn't about rejecting others. It's about embracing your path and making space for those who truly align with it. As you grow, you'll attract new relationships, ones based on mutual respect, shared values, and a deep understanding of each other's journeys. These connections often feel effortless because they stem from authenticity rather than obligation. The people who remain or enter your life during periods of transformation are often the ones meant to walk with you for the long haul. It's also important to remember that some relationships may evolve rather than end. People who initially seem resistant to your growth may eventually be inspired by it. Your courage to change can encourage others to re-evaluate their own paths. But this isn't something you can force. It must happen on their terms and timeline. Ultimately, relationships are dynamic. They shift and change as you do. Clinging to outdated connections out of guilt or nostalgia will only hold you back. Instead, trust that as you grow, the right people will come into your life, and the wrong ones will naturally fade away. This isn't a failure. It's an essential part of becoming who you're meant to be. As Marcus Aurelius wisely stated, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Apply this to your relationships. If a connection no longer feels right or true to your journey, honor yourself by moving forward. Growth isn't easy, but it's worth the discomfort when it leads to deeper, more meaningful connections. 58. Most people misunderstand work because they view it as pain rather than fulfillment. Work is often seen as a necessary evil, something to endure until the weekend or retirement. This mindset, however, is a misunderstanding of what work truly represents. When viewed through the lens of fulfillment rather than pain, work becomes a source of purpose, growth, and even joy. The Stoics believed in the virtue of labor and the value of contributing to the greater good. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, 'I have to go to work.' As a human being, what do I have to complain of if I'm going to do what I was born for?" This perspective shifts work from a burden to a privilege, emphasizing its role in human flourishing. The problem arises when people see work solely as a means to an end, a paycheck, a promotion, or societal approval. This narrow view reduces work to a transactional activity, stripping it of its deeper meaning. When work is tied solely to external rewards, it becomes easy to resent or avoid. The key to fulfillment lies in finding intrinsic value in the act of working itself. Consider this: work shapes you. It challenges you to grow, solve problems, and develop skills. Even mundane tasks can teach patience, discipline, and focus. By reframing work as an opportunity to improve yourself and contribute to something greater, you unlock a sense of purpose that transcends the daily grind. Of course, not all work feels fulfilling, especially when misaligned with your values or goals. In these cases, it's important to ask, what about this work can serve my growth? Even jobs you dislike can teach resilience, resourcefulness, or clarify what you truly want in your career. Instead of resisting, lean into the lessons each experience offers. Another common misconception about work is the idea that it should always be enjoyable. While passion is important, it's unrealistic to expect constant excitement. True fulfillment often comes from overcoming challenges and persisting through difficulties. The pride and satisfaction you feel after completing a hard task are far more rewarding than the fleeting pleasure of avoiding it. To shift your mindset, focus on the process rather than the outcome. Find ways to connect your daily efforts to a larger purpose. This might mean reminding yourself how your work benefits others, aligns with your long-term goals, or simply contributes to your personal growth. By anchoring your work in meaning, you transform it from a chore into a calling. Most people misunderstand work because they see it as a source of pain. But when approached with the right mindset, work becomes a cornerstone of a fulfilling life. As the Stoics teach, the path to virtue often involves effort. Embrace it, and you'll find that the work you do not only shapes the world, but also shapes you into the best version of yourself. 59. The bar for excellence is low, making consistent effort a differentiator. It's an uncomfortable truth, but one that holds tremendous opportunity. The bar for excellence in today's world is surprisingly low. Mediocrity has become the standard, and consistent effort alone can set you apart in ways you might not imagine. If you're willing to do the work, reliably and with discipline, you'll find yourself standing out in a sea of average. Think about it. How often do people truly follow through? How many individuals say they'll do something and actually deliver, not once, but repeatedly? Most people give up at the first sign of difficulty, procrastinate endlessly, or do the bare minimum to get by. This widespread lack of consistency creates an environment where those who commit to even modest effort can achieve exceptional results. The Stoics understood the value of persistence and the importance of consistent action. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." This unwavering commitment to principles reflects the kind of discipline that separates excellence from mediocrity. It's not about being extraordinary in bursts, but about showing up every day and doing the work, even when it's hard, dull, or unnoticed. In practical terms, consistent effort means showing up for your commitments with reliability and integrity. It means setting goals and breaking them into manageable tasks, then sticking to those tasks without allowing distractions or excuses to derail you. This isn't glamorous, but it's precisely what makes it effective. The mundane nature of consistency is why so few embrace it, and why those who do rise above the rest. Imagine you're learning a new skill, like playing the guitar or mastering a foreign language. Many people start enthusiastically, only to abandon their efforts when progress feels slow or difficult. Yet those who persist, who practice a little every day, inevitably surpass those who rely on bursts of motivation. Consistency compounds over time, creating results that seem extraordinary to those who couldn't maintain the effort. Consistency doesn't require perfection. You'll have setbacks, days when motivation wanes, and moments when the work feels pointless. What matters is your ability to get back on track. It's the cumulative effect of small, regular actions that leads to significant change. The gym-goer who lifts weights 3 times a week for years will be far stronger than the one who sporadically works out with high intensity but lacks commitment. This principle extends beyond personal growth. In relationships, careers, and creative pursuits, showing up consistently builds trust, skill, and credibility. The employee who reliably meets deadlines and delivers quality work will often outshine the more talented but inconsistent peer. The friend who shows up when needed, time and again, becomes a pillar in their social circle. Why is the bar for excellence so low? In today's world, distractions are everywhere. Social media, instant gratification, and an obsession with shortcuts have made consistency a rare trait. People seek quick fixes and abandon efforts when they don't see immediate results. But the Stoics remind us to focus on what we can control, our actions, and to remain steadfast regardless of external outcomes. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." This simple yet profound advice underscores the power of consistency. Decide what you want to achieve, commit to the actions required and stick to them. While others drift aimlessly or quit prematurely, you'll be quietly building something remarkable. Ultimately, the low bar for excellence is an opportunity, not an excuse. It's an invitation to rise above mediocrity, not by being extraordinary, but by being dependable. Success doesn't come from grand gestures. It comes from showing up, doing the work, and staying the course. In a world where few are willing to do this, your consistency will become your greatest differentiator. 60. You are still not subscribed. Why wait? Here's the most uncomfortable truth of all. You're still not subscribed. You've made it through 59 hard-hitting lessons, nodding along, reflecting, maybe even feeling inspired to make a change. But you haven't taken that one small step to ensure you don't miss the next breakthrough moment. The Stoics taught us to seize opportunities when they arise, because hesitation often leads to regret. Seneca said, "While we wait for life, life passes. Don't let this moment pass." By subscribing, you're not just hitting a button. You're committing to leveling up your mindset, your discipline, and your future. The next time you're scrolling, feeling stuck, or looking for inspiration, wouldn't it be better to have content that pushes you to grow, think deeply, and take action? This channel isn't just about watching. It's about transforming your life, one insight at a time. So here's the final call. Don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button now. Be part of a community that's committed to wisdom, resilience, and unstoppable growth. Let's keep moving forward, together.